Western regions where military aid is stored. Joseph Eckerson with the latest.
Ukrainian authorities reported the assault as Moscow accused Kyiv of rejecting peace efforts. The attack focused on disrupting Ukraine's military supply lines.
Israeli forces have entered the outskirts of Gaza City, prompting warnings for Palestinians to evacuate as a military offensive begins.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu approved plans to take over the city.
Brazil's former president Jair Bolsonaro faces new legal challenges as police formally accused him and his son of obstruction of justice.
He awaits a Supreme Court ruling on an alleged coup attempt.
A New York appeals court overturned a nearly $500 million penalty against President Donald Trump in a civil fraud case brought by the state's attorney general.
The court ruled the fine was excessive and likely unconstitutional.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact. Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
No.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
Did you see that? It was like pretty in time. Probably not. I don't know. It feels sticky. I don't get feels sticky. Good morning, sunshine. Got me singing right up. That's not something. I want to keep singing to a minimum. Good morning, folks. It is Friday, your favorite day of the week. Friday, August 22nd, 2025. Pleasure to have you here. I hope you're looking forward to a good weekend. It looks like the storm might have already passed. I don't think that's true, though, but it was sunny and kind of calm out, a little bit cool for the end of August. But, take it. But not sure. I thought the storm was supposed to be hitting us today. And apparently the storm decided, I'm not feeling up to it. Got problems with my microphone. Today, I think we have a good show for you today, or we'll see. The first hour, Linda Eastburn will be here, and Linda is a Bigfoot researcher. She's a intuitive. I think she's a kumbaya person, to be honest with you. Law of attraction, manifest life, blah blah blah, kumbaya. And I don't know if you ever listened to the intro, but we're not big on kumbaya around here. I haven't talked to a Bigfoot person other than GD. He's got a Bigfoot. I haven't talked to a Bigfoot researcher probably about 6 years now. I thought there was more interest in Bigfoot, and obviously she's getting some big numbers on her YouTube channel for her Bigfoot research. But when I had to, we got fleas. We got Bigfoot fleas. But I'll be interested to talk to her about what drives a woman to go running through the woods looking for big stinky apes. That's the first hour. And the second hour, we got a couple of authors, two guys, not from Cracker Barrel, No, that's Five Guys burgers. Whatever I'm thinking. I don't know what I'm thinking. What the hell are their names again? I know Tom Harubi, HR. Who spells their name HR? Except Ron. Ron was our HR guy. Tom Harubi, who's an author, and James Pomerantz, who is a Navy SEAL, I believe. They have a book out called The Breacher's Playbook. It is a oh yeah, I'm a Jane Goodall hater. That's a good point. That's not big stinky apes. Chimpanzees are not big stinky apes. Bigfoot is also known as the skunk ape. It's a little more stinky than a chimpanzee. So maybe I was misinterpreted there by our resident Littlefoot. Tom Harubi and James Pomerantz. I think James Pomerantz was a Navy SEAL, a breacher. If you don't know what a breacher is, it's somebody who breaches. I was a breach, but not that. He's a guy who blows up doors and like if you're hiding, you got like a hostage situation. He breaks in, kills the bad guy, gets the hostages out. Now it's a fictionalized book, and I'm wondering why. Why? Don't you think that the truth is stranger than fiction in those cases, or more interesting? Certainly. Won't you want to hear about all these hostage situations and blowing up doors and getting into close quarters with people, blowing their heads off, bombing them? That sounds like fun. Sounds like a way I want to spend my weekend. Anyway, whatever. So we'll meet them today. So it should be a good show, maybe. Gotta say, James looks like a scary dude. I don't want him out. I don't want to fuck with him. So hopefully he's I don't know, mellowed out, chilled out, and not ready to kill Groucho Marx looking, Himmler looking dummy digital broadcasters. Because I wouldn't want them breaking in here. First of all, you don't need a bomb to break in here. I got a curtain door. The door is literally a curtain. You walk through that curtain and you get me. You don't have to bomb it. Whoa, I got big over there. What the hell? I'm getting big everywhere. I don't like getting big. I want to stay small. Can I stay small? Thank you very much. I feel like I'm oversized today. Yesterday, heartbreaking moment for me. Went to our local Stop and Shop. I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be the grand opening guy for Stop and Shop. And you should look for that video where I'm playing with a band. Yeah. When he walked through its curtains. You know what? Well, CD has turned into a Robert Yerry. I'm sorry, that's a terrible insult. I take that back. Yeah, Robert Yerry has turned into a GD. So I went to. I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be a Stop and Shop grand opening guy. Anytime there was do you know what Stop and Shop is? If you're probably in your Florida, you know it's kind of like that. I don't even remember the one. The supermarket chain in Florida that's big. Anyway, it's a supermarket chain. And I used to play every time they had a grand opening for a Stop and Shop supermarket in the Northeast. I'd get the call. Can you play? And generally, just acoustic guitar playing, walking around playing acoustic guitar. People look at me like they let the bums in. What the hell's going on here? Get this guitar player out of the store. But one day they called and said, we would like to do it with a band. Can you get a band together? And this was Saturday night, and they wanted to do it for Sunday morning, 9 a.m. in Hampton Bays, Long Island, which is, kind of an upscale community. Like people coming in after church, seeing like a blues rock band kind of thing. But there's a video of that. Why am I even talking about that? So yesterday I went to that Stop and Shop in Rocky Point, Long Island. And as I'm walking in, there's a woman with a sign and two little children. And the two little children crying and looking not happy. And the sign says, my children are hungry. Please help me. I didn't have any cash with me. I had my debit card. I wasn't thinking, I need cash in case there's somebody who needs money. So I told her, I said, I don't have any cash, but I'll buy you some food when I come out. And as I was walking in the store, people from the store, customers were complaining. And the people in the store came out to chase her away. You can't be annoying our customers. Customers are angry. They're inconvenienced that a woman is trying to feed her hungry children in a parking lot, begging for money. And this is how cold we've become. Like this is your greatest inconvenience. Have you no heart whatsoever? Um, so they chased her away. And I came out, I saw her on the highway, and I got them a little chicken dinner. And believe me, when I say devoured, these kids, when I gave them this little chicken, they have these pre-made dinners, and I gave it to, and this thing was like I threw a chump an alligator. Um, I don't know what an alligator is. Alligator pen, alligator nest, whatever. But they just ate this thing up so fast. So people were saying, "Well, they're just faking it. They're just taking." If you want to take advantage of somebody, you want to be a grifter. You're not going to humiliate yourself by going out with a sign and two little children. I mean, for what? For a couple of bucks here and there? Doesn't make any sense. This was a real thing. And this woman is in dire straits. And this is where we are in America. We've done away with the safety nets for people like this. We have a single mother with two small children out there begging for money for food for her children, and people getting angry about that. Oh man, how dare they ruin our nice suburban, or it's almost rural area where we don't have homeless people, and they were angry about that, and that breaks my heart. It breaks my heart, but that's where we are, America. We don't give a shit about anybody anymore. To see a mother, you know, I'm not going to continue on this, but it was heartbreaking for me. And my wife was like noticing I seemed a little depressed. I think I'm carrying a lot of weight today. I want to go back there and just like, but good thing my wife wasn't there, because we have had homeless people. We've 9 different times we've brought homeless people in to live with us, and it always turns out bad. The stealing stuff and all kinds of stuff like that. One time, my wife actually bought a car for a homeless lady, and she stabbed us in the back. So I mean, we've had compassion, but thank God she wasn't with me there yesterday, because we would have probably taken this young woman and her 2 children in, and eventually they probably would have stabbed us in the back too. But you know what? We probably still would have done it anyway, because it's heartbreaking to see people who are destitute. I'm going on too much. I'm going to let GD in the room, because I know he wants to do his little "Good morning, America, you got big feet" or something, whatever he does. So I'm going to play a commercial, and then we'll say hello to GD, and then Linda Eastburn will be here, and we'll talk about big feet. I mean, Bigfoots, big animals that in the woods that nobody knows what they are. You know what? I'm going to mention on Wednesday evening's program with the author I interviewed, we were talking about sex dolls, and I mentioned to her that I had a sex doll sponsor. So, you know what? In case she's tuning in today to find out about it, let's play Tampa with. Steven to sit down.
Stevie likes to get it on with a girl that's made of silicone. He goes to Fantaly, click on link. He goes to Tantaly, soft and pink. She comes without a head, but at least she'll never shit the bed. You need a fake rubber squeeze, be like Stephen Ortiz. Lube it up, it's so soft. Get your 10% off. He goes to Tantaly. He goes to Tantaly.
I forgot to mention. That's who Steven is becoming. Is that big ugly dude? That dude right there? That hat? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, in the room with me now are the man with 2 big feet. Are the man. See, I've got a problem this week between R and is the man with 2 big feet. GD Fenderson. Good morning, Bigfoot. I mean, GD.
Good morning, America. MindDogTV.com. Do you have cryptids in your yard? Deal with them now before it's too late. Cryptids will migrate to live in the walls of your home and eventually in your head. And once cryptids get in your head, they are worse than earworms. You begin to see them everywhere. You can prevent it with Mind Dog Mind Foil, available only at minddogtv.com/merch. Support your local mercenaries and enjoy this offering.
Your mic is so unpredictable. Yesterday it was loud. I had to lower it. Today it was very low. I had to raise the volume of it. Oh, it's very unpredictable.
I know what the issue is.
It's fine now. I mean,
okay.
Because I raised it up on the back end here, and I
Okay.
raised up your back end. Did you feel your back end?
I did. I did feel it, and it was exhilarating.
Now you can't tell the difference between a chimpanzee and a Bigfoot. Is this your problem?
No, I can tell the difference between chimpanzee and a Bigfoot. But chimpanzees are actually unionized. No, big feet are unionized, which is why we only see them during certain times. They have a very strict schedule. They're very strict union members.
You know Joe Rogan's line about Bigfoot.
He doesn't have them.
No, he spent a lot of time when he was doing Fear Factor and all this stuff. Rogan was big in the world of paranormal stuff, but he did some stuff out in the woods with Bigfoot searches, and he said basically you never see a black guy out there. It's all these white redneck dudes, and he said you're more likely to. This is his quote, which I love this quote. You're more likely to find Bigfoot than you are to find a black guy looking for Bigfoot.
That's probably true.
Yeah. I just wonder. I wonder in Linda Eastburn's travels if she's ever
seen a black guy looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah, and because generally, I mean, white guys in tents with flashlights. Oh, there he is.
As far as I remember, I've only known one black guy who actually was a Bigfoot enthusiast or believer, and I have not seen him since I was 18 or 19 or 20. 18. His name is Gerald Murphy, Gerald Anthony Murphy, or Jam.
Did you watch him today?
I don't think so. I doubt if he's still alive. He had issues.
He did. Well, I had subscriptions, so I that's more than issues. That's
that's matter of fact, yeah, that's commitment.
Yeah.
And he just had issues that he should have been committed.
Yeah. It looks like I think Linda's back there. I can't tell. It's kind of dark, and
I believe she's
It's kind of dark. I'm a little.
I think if she's back there, she should wave her arms like this so that we can make sure that it's not a photograph and it's actually up. Well, it's not this, but I guess this will do. It's not exactly that.
Before I introduce her, I just want to say that I think she's kind of on the same path I was, like when I was in radio 40 years ago. She's not just a Bigfoot researcher. She's
Before
also
you froze up, you mean?
She's into UFOs and past life regressions and things like this. And that can consume you, and it can drive you nuts if you follow that path too far into the woods. It did me anyway. We'll see how she's holding up with it. Linda Eastburn is the author of Threshold of Encounters. You know what? I pulled up the wrong book for her. And seasoned investigator in the realms of UFOs, cryptids, and the paranormal. Linda shares her fascinating journey with the world through her YouTube channel. It's at Linda Eastburn 1472. She's here now. Let's say hello to Linda Eastburn. Good morning, Linda.
Hello, good morning. You're very entertaining dialogue going on there.
Thank you. It's not on purpose.
Yeah. The most important question of the day. Have you ever seen a black guy searching for Bigfoot?
No, I have interviewed a few black men that do paranormal research, but not Bigfoot, no.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It seems to be only white dudes. How about an Asian dude? Have you ever seen an Asian dude?
They look for Yetis.
No Asians, very few women even. It's pretty...
I was going to say you are an anomaly in just being a woman out there looking for Bigfoot. It's mostly dudes, right?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah. How did you get sucked into this world that I got sucked into?
Well, you know, I think one of the things you left out was I'm an intuitive as well, kind of get into the psychic realm of things. So actually, it was through another person told me about some things in my future. And then they just simply made the comment that was brought to me by Bigfoot. And I'm like rolling my eyes. I know nothing about Bigfoot. I have no interest in Bigfoot. It's like, why would Bigfoot be coming to your mind telling me anything? But within a day or two, there was a conference I saw come across my page on Facebook in my area. First one ever to my knowledge in this vicinity. So I looked at the guest, and there was one guest that actually has been on the Joe Rogan show, Scott Nelson. He's a linguist, and he had analyzed the Sierra sounds. I didn't even know what the Sierra sounds were, but apparently they were some vocals suspected of being Bigfoot that were recorded back in the 70s by Ron Moorhead. Well, Scott Nelson was going to be at this conference, so I approached him about getting an interview, and he was up for it. So I went the 3 hours, took 3 cameras, got 6 hours of filming, came back, did the edit, put it up on my YouTube channel, which was not thriving. I had a few things on there. I had a little show called Intuitive Journeys on there. It really wasn't doing much. It was 400 or 500 views, mostly friends and family of the people in the show. You know how that goes. So it just wasn't going anywhere. But I put this documentary up on Scott Nelson analyzing the Sierra Sounds. And all of a sudden it took off. I think it's up to like 265,000 views now, but it monetized my channel. And suddenly I have this group of Bigfoot enthusiasts thinking, that I'm going to be the save the day on the Bigfoot evidence thing. And so I just kind of jumped on board and started interviewing people that had written books about Bigfoot and made films about Bigfoot. And then I started a Bigfoot group and found out there was a whole bunch of people in those woods looking for Bigfoot. It had become a really trendy subject. And so I got to know a lot of them. Now I've done 450 interviews of people on the subject of Bigfoot. So I know a lot more today than I did back then. I have not personally seen one. I did a film in an area that had some Bigfoot reports from it. We saw some evidence, I believe, prints, footprints. We saw a trackway. We saw some really unusual, unexplainable broken branches. That's pretty much what we saw in the film that we made, though.
So you are operating in the reverse of me. I'll tell you my little, because I've known Ron Moorhead for quite a few years. I interviewed him on the radio many years ago. And then 6 or 7 years ago, my channel was not doing well. And I thought, what the Bigfoot stuff is going to attract a lot of people. I had Ron Moorhead on. I got maybe 500 views total, and all 500 people said, that guy's a friggin' whack job. Why are you having those crazy people on? But it's not work out well for me. I'll tell you, I think there is there are definitely still animals and animals out there that we have not discovered. I go back to the African gorilla, the mountain gorilla, which we hadn't known about until late 1800s. So the odds that there are still things out there that we don't know about, I tend to think of it as more of a just not like because Ron goes to extremes with the quantum Bigfoot stuff. Not like all that kind of kumbaya stuff on Bigfoot. I just think it's a natural phenomenon that there are probably very few of them, and whether it's Yeti or Sasquatch or whatever you want to call it, and we just haven't really been given the physical evidence of it, if anything. But people thought Ron with his quantum Bigfoot, where he can walk through parallel timelines and parallel dimensions and all this kind of stuff. I think that goes a little to the imagination side. Like let's just think of any kind of reason why we might not have solid evidence of this thing, and just kind of let our imagination go. But so that's where my background is on this. In your did you find Ron's theories compelling?
I'm willing to listen to anything. I'm pretty open-minded. But what I found because I have no personal evidence of, the flesh and blood evidence of Bigfoot, nor do I have the evidence of the paranormal side of Bigfoot, because I haven't had those experiences myself. I can only go by the interviews that I've done, which is a pretty good number of interviews at this point in time. But it seems like the community is really divided 50-50. Some of them see Bigfoot as flesh and blood. They have their good argument on that, just like yourself. And then the other part, they have these strange experiences we can't explain, and so from those, they kind of go more down the Ron Moorhead theory of there's something paranormal about them, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, having and if you've done research on ghosts, you know, we have the same phenomena happening with ghosts, though. You know, ghosts can appear absolute flesh and blood. They can interact with people. People can think they're absolutely 100% there. And then they find out, oh, you know, they just disappear in front of their eyes, or they're not really there. So I think the thing we really have to question is how much can we trust our own perception? And that's true in the woods with Bigfoot. That's true with any kind of paranormal event that happens.
The thing that goes against the statement that I made earlier, that I think there's a flesh and blood, a very real world answer to all this stuff, is that there are so many people who claim to have sightings all the time. It seems to me that if you follow like social media, Bigfoot is everywhere. He's everywhere. Why don't we have one? And that's something I can't reconcile. My idea that there's a flesh and blood solution to this. People are supposedly seeing it everywhere, but we don't have any solid proof of it, no solid evidence of it.
Yeah, a lot of people that go out though in research, I mean, it may be 7 years between sightings. So it's like, even though it seems like there's a lot of Bigfoot out there and people are seeing them left and right, they really don't have. You hear the same stories over and over again from the same people. So it isn't like other than the clans that are on farms that are always there, and they seem to be interacting with them on brief basis constantly. Those people, you know, might have more evidence of something more solid, but otherwise, most of the people I interview, it's like, I saw something when I was 17 or when I was 12, you know, and they haven't seen anything since, even though they might be out in the woods quite often. So it doesn't seem like it's a real frequent experience to me.
Yeah. I had a guy on when I was going down that rabbit hole again on YouTube about 6 years ago, a guy who claimed he had Bigfoot in his backyard. He lived in Northern California, and when I say backyard, he had acres. He was in the hills there, and he could summon them up, and he kept sending me pictures. You see him here, and like, no, and then he would draw like on the trees or something, an outline like with chalk, and I still don't see him. Well, he's good at camouflage. So wherever they just look and see things, and this is where it gets like, I can't go here. You're just trying to imagine stuff and show me evidence based on your imagination. You're drawing an outline of what you think Bigfoot looks like on leaves and stuff, and saying, see, he's camouflaging himself as leaves. Well, then I could say anything. He's a computer right now. He's hiding as a computer right in front of me. So it's really hard to take some of the evidence. And I just want to talk about hoaxes, because it's something that plays well into hoaxsters' hands, because you know, if you go back to the Patterson thing, there's still, was that a hoax or not? But a lot of these are debunked as hoaxers. That just makes it impossible to find out the truth, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the only thing you have is just that person's story, and whether they're telling the truth or not, it's just a matter of if you want to believe what they're saying or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I 100% agree with you. On the Patterson Gimlin film, though, there's, you know, quite a bit of evidence of, you know, of really analyzing that footage. But the other thing is, if it were a fake suit, which is the only other way that footage could have been taken, they probably wouldn't have used a female. And I think that's a good argument, because, you know, when we think of Bigfoot, we usually don't think of a female Bigfoot. We usually think of a male Bigfoot. Yeah. So that would have been something that I'm not sure they would have built that into the costume.
Yeah. Sunshine says she thinks she heard Bigfoot when camping in Mendocino Forest. There's a lot of that. Like you hear knocking, or you hear something. It could just be making moans, and you never have any idea what it is. But we, must be Bigfoot. We're in Bigfoot country now. Bigfoot country is everywhere now, right? It used to be just the Northwest. Now Bigfoot could be New York City.
Exactly.
Yeah. So on the Patterson film, do you think it was real?
I don't know if it was real or not, just from the people that I've interviewed that have analyzed the footage. And one person, M.K. Davis, who went out and actually met with Patterson's wife and got the footage, some original footage from it, and he was a photographer and analyzed it rather in depth. And just the way that the physical movement of this film, the Patty in the film moved, it would have been really difficult to get those muscle movements in a suit. Those are really difficult things to determine. So there's been so much analysis of it that I'm probably more inclined to believe it is real rather than not, just based upon what I've heard about it. Whether it is or not, I don't know. But there again, it's like the Sierra Sounds. Ron Moorhead doesn't even claim that the Sierra Sounds was Bigfoot. It was a sound that was there. I think they had seen Bigfoot in the area at some point in time up there, but it was some kind of a strange sound. And then other people that I have interviewed have heard not quite that clear, but a similar kind of chatter. It's an unusual chatter in the woods that isn't explained by any other animal or creature. So,
why do you think this is important for the human race to kind of get to the bottom of this, or can we just enjoy it as a nice diversion or entertainment?
I think the people who actually take this seriously may have had some form of an encounter. They want some evidence, or a lot of them want some evidence that it's actually real. I think that legitimizes their encounter. That's what they're looking for. I think the rest of the world is just, enjoying the Bigfoot shows, and whether it be real or hoaxed or whatever. It's kind of like a lot of the other shows on right now. They're presenting them as documentaries or presenting them as real research, but who knows if we can actually trust the information that's going out there. And I think that's true of a lot of the Bigfoot shows.
I think the History Channel has done itself a real disservice by just including anything and everything that might be under the X-Files, and just say, well, this is all from ancient aliens, or anything that anybody might have a theory. They present it as it's a documentary style, like this is truth that we're presenting here, when it's just people just stating their beliefs. And now you can't trust anything that you see on the History Channel. They could tell you that Washington crossed the Delaware, and you'd be like, I don't know, did that really happen? When you label yourself as the History Channel, I think you have to be really careful about what you present, or you're going to kill your brand.
Yeah. A lot of places plant evidence. It's not really there.
Right.
When we made Byways of Bigfoot, one of the things that I put a statement from the very beginning: we may not have found a lot of Bigfoot evidence, but none of it was fake. Another video that I did called Bigfoot the Limits, we went to a location where they didn't know if it was Bigfoot 100% because they didn't actually see a Bigfoot, but there was a lot of really strange things happening at this location. And 3 different film companies, rather prominent shows, had done a documentary on their case. But all of them planted information. It was fake. They came to conclusions that they don't even have evidence to come to any kind of a conclusion on it. So I went down and did Bigfoot the Limits, and the people who lived there said, it was the only real authentic documentary done, because I'm not into a hoax. I mean, it's like I don't have a big channel that I have to get great ratings for all those ads. So I'm just a little bit of YouTube channel. So I could be authentic and honest about it. But something happened on their property. They had documentation, unbelievable amounts of recorded sounds. They had, strange footprints. They even had this strange little face that came out behind a tree that they caught on a camera that they had outside all the time. They just had some very odd things happen on their property. And it pretty much slowed down by the time I made this documentary, but they had it all recorded. They had it all present. They don't know what it was. Something was going on down that valley below them.
Yeah. Now, do I have this correct? You are in the Ozarks. Is that where you're located?
Yeah, I'm in Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. Are there local sightings there?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, 2 of the gentlemen that was in my Byways of Bigfoot film on my YouTube channel, Ron Bowles, he had a sighting back when, I think it was in the 70s or 80s. He was with, he was in his 20s, I think, and he was with a bunch of guys who were going out to this old deserted, hunting lodge or something that had a big pool, and people would sometimes just go out there and build up a big fire in that deserted pool, and take a keg of beer and just enjoy themselves out there for an evening. And that's what they were planning to do this night. He was with 2 other guys walking down the path to get to this place. It was pretty remote, and they started smelling something, which is often, the Bigfoot thing. But of course, we're talking in that era of time, Bigfoot was not a very popular subject. And most people didn't know anything about evidence of Bigfoot. So, but they just knew they smelled something they couldn't explain, and it was horrific. It was horrible. And they're thinking, well, maybe there's a dead animal out here, something like that. So they continued on their walk, and all of a sudden there was this movement behind a tree to their right, and they all look over there, and there's this big hairy creature, and it's kind of going in and out behind this tree, and they're all just kind of freaked out. But one guy was especially freaked out, and he starts running back to the car. They all left, went back to the automobile. The guy that freaked out was never going to go back down that path again. The other two felt compelled to walk down there and see if they could see it again, which they did. And when they got to that place where the tree was, nothing was there. But he spent years without explanation of what the heck did I see? What was this thing? It didn't fit any description of anything that he could identify. Eventually, he understood that there were some people that had seen like a Bigfoot. And so he's saying, well, maybe that's what I saw. So he got invested with BFRO, which is a large organization that does research on Bigfoot. And he started going to some of their meetings and conferences and things like that across the country. And he believes that was what he saw. But he only had that one isolated incident. Now, the other guy, he was a teenager, and he wasn't far from his home. He was kind of on the outskirts of Springfield. But it was around that same time frame that Ron Bowles had his experience, that Ian had his. He was with another teenager, and they lived close to a creek. And it was in town, but kind of outside of town. So they went down to this creek, and they were roaming around, and Ian jumped down the creek bed into near the water, and his friend stayed above. And it was dusk, so it was still light, but not very light. And he looks down the creek, and there's this big hairy creature there again. The only explanation was like the Bigfoot description of what he was looking at, and this thing was looking right back at him. And he, scurried back up the bank of the creek, and it was pretty good haul up to the top, and ran back to the house and told his dad. And of course, his dad was like, yeah, right, it's Bigfoot. So again, a guy that, had an experience, he couldn't explain what he saw. The other interesting thing is these two guys got together on my show. They'd never met each other before. But as they started talking about the time frame that they saw this thing, was very similar time, and the creek that Ian saw that Bigfoot in ran into the larger body of water that Ron Bowles was near whenever he saw the Bigfoot. And there have been other Bigfoot reports along that same creek, in that same time frame. So you kind of correlate the sightings, kind of correlate the things that people say they saw something. Could be a bear. I mean, I think sometimes they do mistake a bear, but this thing doesn't have a bear face, and it stands on 2 feet strong and tall and big, and it's burly and usually has the big shoulders. Has different movement than a bear. Face, they describe it more like looks more like a human than an animal. So yeah, it's like those are the experiences that those two people had.
In my experience, although I knew about Sasquatch sightings in Canada and, of course, Yeti in the Far East, this is a predominantly American phenomenon where we're more obsessed with it than the rest of the world. There are, I don't know, Bigfoot research organization. I don't know if they're worldwide or not, but it just seems to be a predominantly American fascination. Do you agree with that, or do you think it is more of a worldwide?
No, I agree with you. I think it's definitely more of a U.S. fascination, but UFOs are just the opposite. There's far more reports and evidence in other countries of UFOs. We don't get into ghosts as much here or UFOs here. But Bigfoot seems to click with the large number of people here.
Yeah. Slaptail's trying to confuse me here. He's got a comment here that says, whether Bigfoot was truly an organic being when originally reported. When was originally reported? Now, Patterson was the first time they called it Bigfoot, but it's been seen for these reportings have been 200 years at least in the United States and Canada. One could argue that now it's real because it's a thought form, enough energy put into the universe by humans manifesting Bigfoot like other cryptids. Wow, that's confusing to me. So it wasn't real, but now it is real because we imagine it, manifest it. What is that? CD's shaking his head. What did you get from that? I'm trying to
No,
understand.
I believe what he's saying is, let's say 200 years ago, when they first began reporting this creature, that it was a real creature back then, and let's say 50 years later it became extinct, so it is not out there anymore. The last one was seen and died, let's say 150 years ago. But enough people, the lore has become taken on a life of its own. And so what's real now, or what was lore, has become real in the consciousness, kind of like the Mandela effect, where people think that Mandela is walking the woods of Oregon wearing a gorilla outfit. I think that's what the Mandela effect
Yeah, I saw Mandela in the woods. I got a picture, but it was blurry. I couldn't. Anyway, I'm glad we have Slaptail's personal representative here to explain what he means, because I couldn't make that out. I couldn't.
I have I had a cat, and before I had this one cat, I'd never seen a pocket gopher. Never seen a pocket gopher. Never heard of a pocket gopher. I had this my cat, and he used to catch pocket gophers. He was very good at catching pocket gophers and moles. Very good at it. And once he died, I've never seen another mole or another pocket gopher. And we have other cats. They just don't know how to catch them, or don't know how to find them, or have no interest in them. But for that one period of time, for a few years, I was regularly finding pocket gophers that my cat could find. I'm just bringing this up because maybe we haven't trained the right dog to pick up the scent of these things that they're talking about, to go out and find it.
Possible. Linda, have you, in all your research, come to any conclusions in your mind, or are you still open-minded? Where are you on this belief spectrum of what it is, or do you think you have some answers?
Well, I still put it in the same category I'm going to put alien beings in, because I did research for a lot of years on UFOs, alien beings. I haven't seen anything except an orange light myself. I haven't seen a Bigfoot either. But people do see things. And I used to do a lot of regressions with people that thought they had been abducted by aliens and gone aboard a craft and things like that. But I also did hypnosis with people otherwise too. The mind is a strange thing as to what we think we see. It's, we can get into illusions about things, but also we can see something straight on and not see it because we don't have the reference in our mind to be able to see it. So I give a lot of openness as to people's personal experiences, but I don't live inside their brain nor their perceptions. So I really don't know. I know for myself, I've been all over the world looking for UFOs and haven't had that experience. I have, gone ghost hunting, and I've only had one very small little perception of a ghost that I seemed to be behind me at one time. I haven't seen anything like that. The orange light I saw, there were 3 animal mutilations. That was documented by a sheriff on 3 different farms really close to where I saw the orange light in the sky. Whether that had anything to do with the animal mutilations, I don't know. But, I'm kind of a fact-based person, but I don't leave out all the information that people have as personal experience, because there might be a clue in there somewhere as to what we're actually looking at. It's the mystery that draws me in. I enjoy the mystery of all these things. So I like hearing their stories. I like contemplating all these things, but no, I don't have a conclusion.
All right, let's get into an argument here. Not an argument. Sunshine asked, what is an intuitive, and when did you realize it? Before you answer that, I'm going to give you something to smack me around with. I'm going to just say that an intuitive is a psychic who doesn't call themselves a psychic because they don't want people thinking they're crazy. So they use the word intuitive instead.
I say bingo on that one.
You mean it's like in progressive and liberal?
Something like that, yes. How would you answer that question for her?
Yeah, I would definitely say that is true. Yeah, I use the word intuitive because it's not as offensive as a psychic, because they immediately put you into this category where you're a charlatan, Yeah, so how did I become that? Well, yeah, I probably noticed a little bit. I wasn't naturally born being able to do it at will, though. Things would just kind of come to me, but I kind of made a life out of it. I was a real estate investor. That's my bread and butter. But where it worked the most was in my business, to be able to know things in my business, beforehand. I would have dreams of things. I would, then once I learned the skills of meditation, be able to ask a question, get an answer, those things, it just became a skill rather than something that's out there kind of on the edge of things. And so it became a practical, useful skill for me. So that's how I teach it today.
This is interesting because I did mention, like, for me, it was a bit of a rabbit hole, and I feel like I talk about this all the time. I love the idea of being open-minded about things. Like when you mention aliens, I'm almost certain that there is alien life forms elsewhere in the universe that have intelligence. Why they would come here, I wouldn't if I were there. If you're intelligent enough, this is the last place you're gonna go. It's like, but and whatever I believe in, it doesn't really add up into what reality is. I guess it is whatever anybody believes in becomes their reality. But for me, it became overwhelmingly life consuming. It's like now I'm living in the X-Files, and I just really needed to get away from it because I was getting people coming out of the woodwork. I mean, I had a guy on my show who swore he was from another planet. What planet are you from? Well, we don't have the kind of language that you have. We talk about it and we mention it in sounds. I'm from planet Ooh. And so it became like, wow, I'm just surrounding myself with crazy people for the sake of surrounding myself with crazy people. To save my own sanity, I need to run in the other direction. Has any of that do you feel any of what I'm talking about?
When I first started, it does require a bit of grounding to get down this rabbit hole, and I agree it can be a rabbit hole. But the grounding that I use is just to put it into practical use rather than to all of the fringe. And it is a subject that draws in the fringe beliefs galore, so you have to be cautious with that. But I remember the first time that I heard somebody sitting in my house telling me that they had been abducted by aliens and their entire car was taken up into this craft. And I'm like, I wasn't there yet. That was not anything that I could even fathom happening. So I'm looking at this person as just absolutely crazy. Now, later on, that became like a normal story I heard. So it wasn't as crazy, maybe, but still it's their story, not mine. There again, I've traveled all over trying to have some kind of an encounter or an experience. I don't know if I want an encounter. I wanted to have some kind of a sighting, and I couldn't make that happen. It just wasn't going to be. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole. I think putting it into practical use was where the sanity comes in, because I worked with doctors and nurses, helping them to become more aware of how they could use that intuition in their practice. A lot of health practitioners, I worked with business people, helping them understand how they can use it more in, successful business skills. That's how I used it. So I think it was taking it from the fringe, like you're talking about, and moving that intuitive skill. And that's one of the reasons I use the word intuitive. Where it becomes something they use rather than me always doing it for them, even though I've done a lot of intuitive sessions for people as well. I'd rather teach people how to use their own intuitive capacity.
Great. Great. So you just handed me a perfect segue. Like you're pitching batting practice here for me. I appreciate that. I want to mention that you're the author of several books. I pulled up the wrong book today, but this is good that I pulled up the wrong book because it's SPI, Your Way to Power and Success. Because when I did run away from my radio show, trying to get away from what I thought were crazy people, I got involved with the Barbara Brennan School of Healing. Barbara Brennan School of Healing taught HSP, hypersensitive perception, which I learned a different HSP from Kreskin, the amazing Kreskin. He taught what we were calling ESP, is just having hypersensitive perception, heightening your senses so that you can notice things that people don't notice, and that's what he called HSP. Then Barbara was teaching. She called herself an intuitive, but was teaching HSP as a way of being more or less a psychic. SPI, I've never heard of. What is SPI?
It's superpowered intuition. Same basic thing.
Did you make that up?
Superpowered intuition, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I named the book this is because most of the time this goes into more of like a bizarre little spiritual realm. And I wanted people to see it as something they could actually learn and use in their, again, everyday practical life experiences.
Yeah. It seems to be a very strong correlation between people who are interested in healing and understanding the human condition and these kind of things. And then in the Barbara Brennan, why I brought this up is because this is where I got to the idea, well, maybe it's good to have a closed mind in some instances, because people would start to believe in anything. Within the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, this idea of embracing hypersensitive perception was taught. And then people was believing in the Easter Bunny and I mean, everything that was I just accepted as myth and mythology and sometimes just silliness. I was finding people that believed in anything, and I think opening the doors to these things, you lose your. I think it's good to have a little bit of skepticism, and I don't think you lose any of that skepticism once you start going down this path. Would you agree with that? And if so, how do you maintain that safety net? I don't want.
I think it just depends on the individual, because I think my students have tended not to maybe go down quite that much of a rabbit hole. They're usually professional people that are grounded in a real life situation. I think that there again, the fringe is going to always make their way into this world, because it does kind of draw in a lot of misfits, in life experiences. It just does. But rather than for me to say, okay, you shouldn't be doing this, it's like maybe helping them to be able to ground in the way that they already think about life, because they're going to be on the fringe no matter what. Whether they go down this path or they don't go down this path, they're going to find some path to go down that's fringe. So.
G.D. Poppins, is that G.D. Poppins left that comment? Super cat. What was it?
Yeah.
Superpower intuition expialidocious. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one. What about what's the phrase that Bigfoot adjacent? This is something. Jason is GD's. And he's very quiet today because he's a black guy, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I don't know if you know this. They're not interested. But he's one of the good ones. So, but Bigfoot adjacent, like Mothman, and all these, the devil in New Jersey, the devil in the Jersey Pine Barrens, and all these things.
Nessie, Ogopogo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Have you done any research or interviews in that area of Bigfoot adjacent?
It comes with the territory. Yeah. Dogman is the one that really surprised me. How many people have seen something that looks dog-like rather than human-like, like the Bigfoot looks? But they also have some really strange things. Now, there was one interview I did with a man that had an encounter with a dog man back when he was young. But he had a really interesting concept of how that came about. It was he and three other guys. They were young. They were like 12, 13, 14, somewhere in that ballpark. And they lived in an area where these old coal mines existed. And there were these old, huge warehouses that were just, the windows were out, doors were out. They could just go out there and hang out during the summer months and just, build a fire and this warehouse and just hang out. And they had this really weird dogman experience that just frightened the living daylights out of them. And this dogman, they saw it coming up over a pile of coal. They ran upstairs in this warehouse building. They could look down. There was an open area in the middle. And this thing came in the building. They could all see it. They all had the same experience. And then this train came along outside, and the dogman just kind of disappeared. And later on, he began to understand that maybe they were all sort of having this sort of hypnotic experience together and experiencing this single moment with this dogman, that maybe the dogman was real or wasn't, but they certainly perceived him as real. It seemed real to them. Then it disappeared. They didn't know how to explain that. They all ran back home, and they had trauma from that experience. It was that devastating to them. But having done hypnosis for years and taken groups of people under hypnosis, it is true, and I've experienced this myself, you can get into a reality within your mind, within a group of people where you all have the same experience, which is very odd. but it's not the reality of the physical world out here. So that's another thing that you have to consider with the mind, that, what the mind's actually capable of.
This is how I became the mind dog. I was thinking about, somebody asked me where that name came from, and I had to go back to early 1980s with the fire walking and the hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming, which Sunshine for some reason decided to write neuro-linguistic programming in the chat room, and I'm like, what do you mean? I understand what NLP is, but why just leave that phrase there and not, like, is there a question, is there a comment about it, and all that stuff? But I'm kind of making a segue here right now, because I noticed on your website you do something called quantum past life regression, right? Or quantum regressive therapy or something like that. Now, when in the 1980s, this is probably, I'm not going to get involved in the whole long story here today. I'm going to tell the story next week, maybe. But when I first got into this idea of hypnosis and hypnotic therapy and all this stuff, got involved with past life regressions, people asked me to do them, but I wasn't a believer in it. And I sat through many of these sessions just scratching my head at, like, some of the things people came up with, and then you go to like the library and look up things to see how accurate they were and stuff like that. What is and I'm still not sure about any of this stuff, whether past lives are even a real thing. What is your what is quantum regressive therapy, if I'm naming it right, and what is your belief around what it is?
Yeah, quantum regressive therapy is mostly just going into in between spaces, not just in between life spaces, not experience spaces, but where you can go in and just explore whatever questions that you might have about life. And so it's a regressive type of therapy, but it's really not about past lives. Now, you can explore past lives if that's what you want to do. For me personally, I'm kind of like you. It's like you can't prove a lot of this. Some of it you can, some of it you can't prove on past lives. Most of them you cannot. Most of the time, they're absolutely not a famous person or anything like that. They just have a normal life, a simple thing. To me, it's more like putting some issue in a story form, and it happens to be in the past. You can do the same thing in the future. However, because I am an intuitive and I do a lot of research just in that intuitive state, I do remember having a lot of doubts about past life work. And I would ask the question blindly, because remote viewing, you don't know your question. There are tons of questions there by many people, and you don't know what question you have in front of you. And I was asking about past lives, and this very stern part of me came into play and said, this is fundamentally correct, and it's high time you start believing it. And I thought that was a really interesting answer that came.
My problem, well, I had many problems with the whole idea of it, but I had more than one person be Elvis, and, like, wait a minute, you can't both be Elvis. One of you guys, we got to work this out, because only
one of them was Fat Elvis, the other one was Thin Elvis.
Yeah, and Elvis would have only been dead for like 6 years at that point.
Yeah.
Like, so wait a minute, but you can't have everybody be Louis VIII or Henry VIII or whatever. So you see a lot of that, and I think a lot of people have very strong imagination. Einstein was big about talking about the power of imagination being the most important aspect of the brain. Where do you fall on the idea of imagination playing a big part into intuitiveness, into this whole world of experiencing things that we don't necessarily think fall into the reality of life?
I think that's an excellent question, and I definitely have an answer for you, because I'm the same way. I have to have proof about things. I just, so for about a year, I was doing this intuitive work, but there wasn't anything very solid there. Nothing that you could put your hand on and say, well, that was absolutely 100% correct. Now, there were a few things that did happen that I could say, yeah, that's pretty amazing. But what took me to the place where I could really learn to trust it was, I was at a conference. It was a UFO conference, actually. There was a man there talking about a Russian remote viewing program. At that time, our U.S. remote viewing programs were not out there. No one had written books yet. It was still concealed information. They could not write about it. So I never heard about this before. So everything that I had been doing to that point was a little elusive. I couldn't put my absolute finger on it. But he was talking about them remote viewing bases and, U.S. bases as a spy technique, and looking at submarines, viewing things, real things, physical things that they could describe. And I thought, wow, I've never thought about doing that before with this, but I was really pretty good with my intuition at that point in time. So I came home and I thought, well, how am I going to do it? I don't have a hypnotist here to take me under or to help me with my skills with this. So what I did was I just took the phone book, and it was a pretty thick phone book. And I opened up the phone book and I tried to find a street or an address whereby, I don't know that street. I don't know that house. I don't know what that house looks like. But I know if there's a phone number there, there's probably a house attached to it, right? So I picked one, and I put myself in a hypnotic state, and I told myself to go be in front of that house in the street, looking at that house from the front and just describe what I saw. And later on that day, I would go by and look at it. Well, initially, I saw a baby blue colored home, which wasn't a time when there were a lot of baby blue colored homes around. So that was kind of odd, but I knew it wasn't the right one. My intuition just said, no, get rid of that. So I put it to the side. I went back into the address that I was remote viewing. I came into the property, seen paint runs, actually. I saw a light colored, like a white paint run. Realized I was too close to the house, so I moved back, tried to get in the street again where I was supposed to land, but didn't. And what I saw was a one-car garage. I saw it on the right-hand side. I saw a black roof. I saw this light-colored siding, picture window, green grass on this little tiny, front porch, little concrete step up front porch, wrought iron, a post at the corner of that step, and one tree in the yard, very well placed in the yard. It was just a one-car ranch-style house, just a pretty normal-looking, kind of boring, actually. So later that day, I drove by and I got everything correct except two things. I transposed the garage. It was on the other side of the house rather than the side I saw. And the paint was a pale gray rather than white. So I got two things wrong. The baby blue house, however, was right next door. So that was kind of interesting too. So I went on at that point to do this same exercise with 3 or 4 houses a week. Oliver, I got so savvy at it. It was like, okay, how many colors, how many styles of houses are there? I could still be making this up. I was getting it pretty accurate. When I was wrong, I was dead wrong. When I was accurate, I was accurate. I was there. And I had about an 85% success rate of getting it right. But I started testing myself even further. I would ask before I finished the session, okay, give me one identifying thing at this property that's 100% only at this property, not anywhere else. And I would see, a blue tarped boat on the right side of the backyard, or I would see a real ornate little ornament in the front yard. One time I saw this really thing. I thought it was a sidewalk because I knew the neighborhood was not like a really rich neighborhood. So I assumed it was a sidewalk, but I saw this right in the middle of the yard, right in, smack dab in the middle of the house. There was this curved kind of snake-like thing that there again, I thought it was a sidewalk that went up and then turned around and over to the side of the house. When I got there and looked at that house, it was definitely there, but it was the driveway. It was the strangest thing I'd ever seen. I had no idea what that place looked like, but it was one thing that proved to me, and I did that for about a year, but I also taught people, and we would do things we could 100% prove. So I think if you're an intuitive or a psychic or whatever you want to call it, and you're not understanding your accuracy rate, you're probably not taking this seriously.
Yeah. My experience is a lot of people get hung up on, proving, accuracy rate, and they will go very far extremes to kind of paint things as well. I don't have an example right now, but they're not really representing what they said. They're just paraphrasing what they said, painting, stretching it out a little bit to match the facts afterwards. That's not how science is done generally.
It's not. And when I teach the remote viewing class, people will do that. It was just our nature. It's like, I want to be right. I want to be right. I want to be right.
Right.
But, the reality of it is if you can't handle being wrong, you're never going to learn how to be right.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to look at the facts of what you're getting. Did you get it right? Did you get it wrong?
But also there's this defense mechanism, because if I'm wrong, that means I'm fucking crazy, and I don't want to be fucking crazy. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to know if I could trust it. Remember, I was using this stuff for business things and and all that. I wanted to know if I could trust it. And what I found was I could trust it to a point, but I can't trust it 100% because those houses I got wrong were dead wrong. And you have to own that. And so you can trust it to a point, and then you have to use your common sense and use your reasoning capacity to back up whatever it is that you're seeing. But I do remember one time that I was my husband and I were real estate investors, and we were at a property that was way above our price range. It sold for over $1 million back in 2000. It had sold for over $1 million twice back in 2000. So it was way above our price range at that time. We just started investing, and we went to look at it anyway. It was open house. It was going to auction in about 3 weeks. It was a 3-story, 8,000 square foot pool, huge horse barns, beautiful place, gated in the front, with a beautiful wrought iron gate that went up a paved driveway with trees on both sides up to the front porch. And we were there just looking at it. Nice, beautiful, beautiful spot. And we were driving around the farm, and suddenly I had that download, which would happen to me about real estate mostly back in those days. And all of a sudden, out of my mouth came, "This is going to sell for $300,000." My husband says, "If this sells for $300,000, we need to buy it." Well, we didn't have $300,000. It just, it just wasn't there. So we were going to have to get a bank loan. But normally, if I had not said that, normally we would just let that pass. It wouldn't have happened. But we went to the bank. We qualified for the loan. We had to have X amount of down payment. We didn't even have that much. We didn't even have that down payment. We qualified for the loan, however. So that week, we got 2 calls, not initiated at all by us. Now, this is going to sound like a bizarre story, but we did not initiate that. But we got calls from 2 people, one to buy a little Quonset hut garage we owned here in Springfield. Another one was a storage shed that on a little piece of land. Neither of them very, very high-end properties, but both of them, somebody wanted to buy both of them, and they paid cash within the week. We had the exact amount for the down payment. We went to the auction that day, and it sold for $300,000, and we owned it. So that's the kind of thing that would happen to me. And it happened to me so often, I had to give this some credibility because it was just right there present.
Yeah, that's it. I've been interested in this because you just used the word trust, which is almost synonymous with faith. And I was talking to a religious person the other day, and why is faith so important for you? Trust in your own abilities or what you believed in was important. That's the same as faith in my view. And I think for some reason, and I don't get the connection here. If you don't believe, it doesn't. You got to have that faith and trust. And why is that? Why is that so important part of it? Because in my mind, and this is the cognitive part of it, is that it should work whether you believe in it or not. If God was real, for instance, it shouldn't matter whether his existence or its existence does not rely on me believing in it. It is what it is. So where does the trust and faith? Why is it so important? This is something I'm continually baffled by. But
well, this is where probably it's going to get out on a little bit of a limb. But I really think that there is. When I was learning to do this, I think there is a part of you that has to align yourself frequency-wise with it. And I don't know how I can prove that. But when I was trying to see inside the human body or just get in touch with other people besides just myself, there was a process that I had to learn. And I had not accomplished that initially. But after a time, I learned, and it's like there is a blending. There's kind of a blending of energy. And the best way I describe it is like when you are, I don't know if you remember jump rope when you were a kid, and the 2 people on the playground that would hold the jump rope and twirl it, and all the kids would jump in and jump in the jump rope. It's a lot like that. That's my first book is called Riding the Intuitive Wave, because it's like you have to get in sync with and in harmony with, and if you can't get there, you're not going to get that information. Now, another thing that they've shown is you get a skeptic in the bunch, and what they do is they kind of offset frequency, and it can really, really screw with the information that comes through. So consciousness is something we don't fully understand. I've spent a lot of time trying to dig into that because it does seem to play into all the things that we're talking about, whether it be Bigfoot, paranormal experiences, faith, religion, or these intuitive experiences like I've had. I would like to know more about that, but I don't think we fully understand how our consciousness plays into the whole picture.
All right, I want to show your books now because the one on the right there, Threshold to Encounters, is the one I was supposed to be showing. I showed the SBI book. Now that's an unusual cover, but I'm noticing here, and I don't know if we met, maybe I did the wrong thing by putting your phone number.
Wait, no,
it's interesting to me that your books are available by phone call rather than like Amazon, and that's a story for another day. But the cover for Threshold to Encounters, interesting. What is you got like a it looks like a skeleton or alien. I don't know what the hell that is, and then like a mirror behind it. What is this book about?
Yeah, that's Bigfoot, Ghost, and Aliens. That was kind of the cover of the book. And by the way, they are also available on Amazon. I sell them myself, but they're also available on Amazon. Yeah.
All right. I have both your links, by the way. Your YouTube channel and the website links are in the description if people want to follow up with you. So thanks for. I was just a little confused. Like I've never seen that before. 3,000 authors in, never had call for the books. Like wow, that's. I mean, I would probably be doing that myself. I mean, you keep full control of it. I don't like giving anybody else the middleman money on it. But thank you for being part of the program. I hope you didn't renew my interest in this because I did want to run away from it. It drove me crazy. It definitely consumed my life, and I hope that doesn't happen to you. We have to move on though. But I appreciate you being here, and I hope people will check out your work and your books especially. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye for now. Our next guest is here. I guess we're going to bypass the news. I don't know if we was expecting his co-writer to be with him. I thought we were. I on my calendar, I had two people, Tom Harubi, I think Ruby, H-R-U-B-Y, who is co-author of the Breachers playbook with James Pomerantz. James is I think, if I have this right, former Navy SEAL and a breacher, which the Breachers Playbook, and author of the book Breachers Playbook. He's here now. Let's say hello to him. Good morning, James.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. I'm sure Tom will be joining us, and Tom was the Navy SEAL, not me.
Oh, you know what? Okay. That wasn't made clear, and I don't know why. I was just because I thought it said that it would. The book is fictionalized from your memories, but it's fictionalized from his memories. You're just you're the author guy who helped him get into book form, right?
Correct.
I don't know why I have that backwards. I'm sorry about that. The question I would have, and I mentioned this right in the opening of the show, why bother fictionalizing this? This seems like his true life story would be very interesting on its own. There doesn't need to be any need for any fiction, right? Or
security clearance. Yeah, actually, a great question. My first thought when Tom and I met was a biography. I met him 10 years ago at Northwestern football training camp. He was playing football as a 33-year-old freshman at Northwestern, and he was still an active duty Navy SEAL stationed at Great Lakes, at Recruit Training Command, Great Lakes. And I had been working on a book about an older college football player, another novel. And I'm friends with Pat Fitzgerald, who was the head coach of Northwestern. And he invited me to training camp, to see what a D1 player needs to do to make a team as a walk-on. And then that's where Tom and I were introduced. And as, we became friends, and he was advising me on the book. And I was thinking the whole time, hell, his story is way more interesting than the novel I'm working on. And I asked him if he was interested in doing a biography. And at the time, he wasn't. He had a lot of demons he was battling at the time. He was trying to save a failing marriage. They had 4 little boys. He had just gotten sober, and the last thing in the world he wanted to do was write a book about his life. So we stayed friends, and over the years, I wanted to turn this story into a novel. And, writing a biography is like being a reporter. Most publishers want biographies to be in first person. So you have to write the book as, I would have to write the book as Tom Ruby. This is a guy that I hadn't known for a long time. And, there's very little freedom in that for an author.
Yeah.
When you write fiction, your freedom is unlimited.
Right.
And Tom preferred that idea. You don't throw anybody under the bus, and you get to explore the character, and Tom gets to explore Declan from a remarkable vantage point.
Yeah.
So that's how we, in 2023, we met in Chicago for dinner. I was living in Arizona, and Tom lives in Crown Point, Indiana. And he said, "Are you still interested in writing a book?" And I said, "Yeah, but I'd rather do a novel based on your experience." And he said, "Perfect. Let's do it."
Looks like Tom is joining us now. I'll give him a minute. I don't know if he's sitting down or he's just that big. Because now I'm going to have to take the book out because I don't want to cover his face. I'm showing the Breachers Playbook cover on the left-hand side of the screen right now. Let me take that out before I bring him in. So the Tom Ruby, is that how you pronounce it? Is the actual ex-Navy SEAL who this book is kind of based on his memories and things like that. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, thank you. Yep, Tom Ruby, Silent
yeah.
A.
Thanks for being here. Interesting stuff. Now, we were just talking with James, and he talked about how you two met. And when he started talking about being an ex-Navy SEAL, 30-something-year-old freshman at Northwestern, my dirty mind, I'm thinking, wow, what a way to score chicks. I mean, to be a 33-year-old freshman in college and being a Navy SEAL and having all that going for you. Boy, I'm thinking, I want to pretend to be that at least. But he let it out that you were married and had kids at the time, so that blows that whole fantasy.
Yeah, that really blew that one for sure. Yeah. I did that wrong.
The question I asked him, and he was just explaining why not a biography. It was a question that it would seem to me that the truth is so much more powerful than fiction. Your real life story. It didn't seem like there was a good reason to make it fictional, and then he was explaining the reason you didn't want to throw people under, like who you might be throwing under the bus, the people you had to blow up doors to get at and all that kind of stuff. But it's just so from your perspective, why was it important for you to have this fictionalized rather than being a biography?
Well, I guess we spent a lot of time, James and I, together. We met in 2014 in Kenosha at I was playing at Northwestern. I was a football player on the Wildcats, and he came up and we became friends in 2014 at training camp. James is friends with Fitzgerald, and we began collaborating on a couple projects. He was working on a character, an older guy that played football, and we kicked around the biography for quite some time. We actually began with a biography. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you might not want to do a biography. And as I, really analyzed it, and then once the idea of creating a fictional character came up and we really started looking into this idea, I mean, there are so many beautiful things about making a fiction story about a real life character and all the places that it can go. So in the Breachers Playbook, we take my life, we take others and a lot of other experiences, and we're able to put that all into one 350-page book. And our original manuscript was 600 pages long. So the Breachers Playbook was almost double that size. And we cut it down to 300 and something pages long. And we got a lot of follow-on stories. So every following book for the Breachers Playbook is just going to incorporate story after story. I just don't think that there's a better way. And in a biography, you're really limited to one book. So whatever you write in that one book, that's that. you're going to have to cut personal stories. You're going to have to cut a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, and also the fact you're still too young for a biography. I mean, you have to wait till you're 80 to have like a thorough biography.
I think so. Yeah. So we're waiting on that one.
Or if you have multiple personality disorder, then each personality could have their own biography.
Yeah,
that's true.
Now, and when James was giving us the basics of writing the book, he mentioned the word demons came up, that when you first became an ex-Navy SEAL. I don't even, like Marines don't call themselves ex-Marines. They're Marines for life. You're a Navy SEAL for life, right? You're still a Navy SEAL, even though you're not an active Navy SEAL.
Sure.
But he used the word demons came up, and the word demons comes up in the Amazon. By the way, we have the Amazon link scrolling across, and it's in the description for people to click. The word demons comes up in Declan's description, fighting demons. The question I have is, James, your therapist?
No, the furthest thing from it.
Do you still I mean, the word demons suggests mental torment. Do you feel like some healing has come through the process of writing this book? That's the
me or Tom?
You, Tom. I'm sorry. Do you feel like you've battled some of these demons and healed some of the things that were in the back of your mind through the process of writing the book?
Of course. Yeah. I think that expressing yourself in different ways, different experiences is ultimately healing. It's cathartic. It allows these things to be exposed and to be looked at. Right. I would recommend anyone that feels like they have trauma from their past to attempt to journal and write and speak to somebody and talk to somebody. Spend time exploring these things. There are many modalities, and there's a lot of organizations out there that will give you access to the resources needed to be able to do that. I think it's very important. I mean, for me personally, I think my story is interesting and exciting, and I've always wanted to, and I still do want to get this story out to as many people and they can experience that story. But at the same time, I've got all my issues from my childhood stuff, my life, my marriage, wartime.
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt. I guess prejudice in reading that statement was thinking that all the so-called demons were based on wartime experiences, but it's more of just life experience. Yes, or
sure.
No?
Yeah. Well, in the Breacher's Playbook, one of the great things, and I think James is an absolute genius here. And now let's. I mean, I want to make sure that we're clear. You know, James has 9 novels. He's written 9 books, published books, and this is, I think, his 10th. Right? Is that right, James?
Yeah.
So the Breacher's Playbook is his 10th novel. I mean, he's a really experienced, brilliant writer. But what really is amazing about this book, in my opinion, is that we use a nonlinear structure for it. Yeah. So this book it spans 20 years of our protagonist Declan Novak's life. So it goes all the way back to his childhood, and then it jumps back forward to wartime, then it jumps back to adolescence, and then it jumps. So we get this very vivid, deep portrayal of this character. We see his family life, his parents, we see all of these things, and then we see how immediately it's affecting him in the real time. Well, I mean, the story
with the nonlinear approach, immediately in chapter 1, you find Tom in combat, and he's bringing the reader into a combat situation where, with a linear approach, you go through his upbringing and childhood and all that stuff, and right off the bat, you're hooked on who this guy is. I mean, Declan is like placing a Roman candle inside a fireworks factory. We've all faced situations and dilemmas in our life where we wished we had Navy SEAL skills to deal with it.
Yeah.
And Declan does.
Yeah, I don't mean to offend either one of you guys, especially Tom, because it looks like he could beat me up very easily. I'm going to say you two are the least like. I would never guess that you guys were good friends. It looks like the alpha male and a guy who's playing Keith Richards in a Rolling Stones tribute act. I mean, you don't look like. If I looked at you, I would not think, "Wow, these guys are close friends." I mean, when you first met, was establishing a
Do we
bond.
call you Dog?
Yeah.
Okay, Dog. You couldn't be more wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I
don't think wrong is a subject to gradation. You're either wrong or you're right. I'm wrong.
You're wrong. My background kind of led us to a good friendship. I was in the restaurant and bar business, a nightclub business for years in Chicago while I was writing. I survived a partnership with Steven Seagal.
Wow.
I survived, extensive training in martial arts, Tibetan Kung Fu and Krav Maga. And, Tom and I are connected in a lot of ways.
All right.
I mean, telling me I look like Keith Richards.
No, fair enough. But
I have to deal with later.
But I do think you, as the look you're wearing today, and I don't mean anything disrespectful by this. I think you actually would play a good younger version of Keith Richards.
I can handle it.
Yeah. Anyway, so now, how long did it take to write the book? How long did and the modality of it, was it like sit down, tell me your story type of? What did that look?
Well, we signed a contract together in 23. We spent 30, 40 hours of interview tapes, and then I outlined the book, and then I would kind of give Tom assignments, give me 3,000 words on your first day at Bud's, 3,000 words on, your first deployment or first experience in combat. And then we put this all together, and it took about a year from start to finish before we had a final manuscript.
Wow. That's very in-depth. So you must have become extremely close during that. I mean, now, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like you would have to have one of the closest relationships that any two guys could actually have in just discovering the book and letting the book unfold. Yes.
Well, it was an honor for me to work on this book with Tom.
Right.
The sacrifice that he gave our country and 10 years as a Navy SEAL. I hope, we're as close as two guys can get.
Yeah, very cool.
It was an honor to work on the book.
Very cool. Now, the book, how long has the book been out? Has it been out a while? Or is
January 20th.
So do you know the demographics of who's reading it? Because I would think, see, now, again, this is prejudice. I'm just thinking a lot of young males, males between, let's say, 30 and 50 would be the prime target who's interested in this book. Or do you know?
We haven't got the demographics from the publisher sales-wise yet. I think the storyline, which covers, Tom was a professional fighter after high school, an MMA fighter, became a Navy SEAL, and then played Division I football. That readership is humongous.
Yeah.
I mean, people that follow the UFC, people that follow, anything involving our military, and SEALs are in the news quite a bit. And then college football fans love a story about an older guy who walks on a team of 19 and 20-year-old five-star athletes and, makes the team.
Yeah. Interesting. So now you're right. I do think it has broad interest in that stuff. Readers are they're a different breed of people. They're different from people who watch movies now. Any interest, and I'm certain there is, but I mean, have you pursued beyond interest the idea of a screenplay and pitching it as a movie?
Tom?
Yes, of course. I think the Breacher's Playbook would make a great series.
Oh yeah, that I take for granted. But like, have you actually done anything like taking the first step? Like, let's start to draft a screenplay out of this.
We haven't.
I think Hollywood is out of ideas, and they're also out of energy. And I don't know this. It's not advice, people, but I say this to almost every author who thinks that in terms of make a great film. They want you to do the screenplay for them, and then they'll, if they don't like it, if it's not perfect, they'll adapt it a little bit, they'll change it a little bit, but they want you to do all the work before you even take one step in it.
Including who you think would play these parts. Honestly, that's how they are. They're lazy.
Yeah. But it does sound like it was made for a movie book.
Yeah, it's a fun book. I mean, it's just a really fun, exciting book.
Well,
tell
me, because to me, being a person, and listen, I'm not one who ever shied away from what needed to be done, but it seemed to me like fun. You just use the word fun, like blowing down doors and stuff, using bombs to break into small, close places. It seems exciting. I would use exciting, but also very.
Well, it's fun because you get to rescue 2 kids who are kidnapped from a daycare center.
Yeah,
it's all of those things, and for the reader, it's fun. I mean, that's why we read, right? We like the excitement. It's a fun read. It's something that you'll enjoy. It's something that you're not going to want to put it down. You're going to keep flipping the next. I mean, it does all of those things. It tells a great story about, a lot of inside stories, like James for the Breacher's Playbook. I have a friend, a SEAL buddy that works for the FBI and the FBI Academy. So James, well, we were both invited. James, I wasn't able to go. James went to the Quantico and he got a tour of the entire FBI facility. So, I mean, these stories are, they're as authentic and real as you can get. And of course, my stories as a SEAL in Afghanistan, Iraq, Philippines, and so on, right? So these are real inside looks into what all of those kind of, these secret society-ish type places are. Buds and training camp and Northwestern football. And I was there when Coach Fitzgerald was there. And actually, he just, the verdict came back for Coach Fitzgerald that he had done nothing wrong. I don't know if you're familiar with that whole case.
Yeah.
The verdict just came back. He did nothing wrong, and then he won his entire lawsuit. So that's
great news.
I was right in the middle of all of that. I actually was in the middle of the unionization at Northwestern.
James, why are you shaking your head no?
No, I'm saying it was great news. Yeah.
Okay.
We both texted Fitz yesterday and said, hell yeah. And we just got news that he won his lawsuit, and they said he did nothing wrong, and he's a great guy.
I don't think there's, and I would definitely put me in front of the line here. There's nobody walking the face of the earth that did nothing wrong. But in terms of a legal matter. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I was just reading what the headlines of the article that
I in terms of the case, he did nothing wrong.
In terms of that case and the evidence.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yes. Hate to put you on the spot. No, I don't hate. I'm lying. I love to put you on the spot here. Okay. If it does get made into a movie, who plays Declan?
Ooh. I personally love Tom Hardy. That's one of my favorite guys. I think he'd make a great. He might. I don't know. Is he aged out of that character? I'm not totally.
He's on the cusp. But if he said yes, we'd make Declan a little older.
Yeah,
but aging also. I mean, we just had Pedro Pascal play a 30. He's in his 50s and he played a 33-year-old character.
Okay.
Shoot.
We talked about Jake Gyllenhaal or who else came up?
You know what? Jake Gyllenhaal is an interesting guy because I would have never thought he'd be like the alpha male type when he was starting out, but he definitely has that going on now. transformation as far as actors. That's a good one. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Tom, if you don't mind, like, give us a little bit of. I know you were a fighter, but you signed up. You enlisted, right? You weren't. You didn't go to like ROTC training and all that stuff. You enlisted.
I was enlisted.
What is the path to Navy SEAL? Like they just say, "Well, you look like you'd make a great." You'd have to excel at a lot of physical things before. Or did you? Was there like a tryout for Navy SEALs, or how do you get involved in the Navy SEAL?
They do a tryout. You can go into your recruiter and ask. Of course, I'd like a SEAL contract, and most of them will laugh at you and tell you to scram it and say, hey,
"I'm going to do that today and see what."
See what they say. Tell them Tom said you can get a waiver at any age, and we'll see how that. Let me know how it goes. So they'll put you through a physical test. And see if they think that you it's reasonable that they keep working with you. And if you're adamant and persistent, they'll eventually offer you a contract. Now that contract is a stipulation that you're going to pass these tests and that you'll finish these qualifications and you'll you'll show up and be available. And some guys make that and some guys don't. Eventually you can get to boot camp, and through boot camp it'll be the same. You're going to be tested and qualified all through boot camp while still doing your regular Navy requirements. In addition, you'll run, swim, PT every day, and if you pass all of that, you'll be shipped to Coronado, and there's a BUDS orientation. So there's several months before BUDS even begins, which is basic underwater demolition school, and that's the prerequisite school to become a Navy SEAL. The fourth week is what's called Hell Week. There's 3 phases: first phase, second phase, third phase, and then a SEAL qualification training. Over total, it takes close to a year just for BUDS and an SQT, and then it extends longer than that generally. But if you make it through all of that, then
I wouldn't even make it.
You'll be close. You'll be close.
I think we've established that I won't even make it to asking if I could be a Navy SEAL. I won't make it that far.
Well, the success ratio is, over 80% of candidates fail.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
My question is, with all the training that you do, about what is the cost for the training, and as far as the actual, let's say, the lifespan of a Navy SEAL, what does that term come out? So like the cost of training versus how much of a lifespan do you get of a Navy SEAL?
Mm-hmm. Well, I went to BUDS in 2006, and at that time, I had been told, or we had been told, that one candidate fully trained through BUDS and then assigned and attached to a SEAL team cost $1 million. So 2006. 2006, right? I could not tell you what those statistics might look like today, but remember,
it's probably cheaper with technology and AI. I'm sure it's gone down, right?
Yeah, there might not even be any SEAls anymore. They might all just be AI now.
Wow. Earlier you were talking about the
importance. How long does one remain a SEAL? What's the average lifespan of a Navy SEAL?
So I went in. I had a 6-year contract to start. If I failed BUDS, I would have to make up whatever amount of time that was that I had spent in training. That would roll into my Navy contract time, my enlisted time. So I did 6 years, and then I re-enlisted again for another 4. So
yeah, I'm just really surprised to hear in terms of contract. It's almost like a professional football player now. You're signing. You don't think of in military like I got a 2-year contract to be seaman.
Yeah.
But you don't think of terms of contracts when in the military. It's just the first time I've ever heard of that. I signed a 6-year contract or something. Like, wow, it's like a free agency here. It was a very weird concept to somebody who's not served. Earlier you were talking about the importance of creativity in healing trauma. And I've had several military people on who were talking about the importance of proactive creativity. And I'm wondering, has the military caught on to this idea? Because we were talking about, if you go back to the earliest tribal wars and stuff like that, there were drum rituals and all these kind of things to prepare warriors for going into battle that is creative in some sense, like a drumming circle or something like that, to prepare them and kind of minimize the trauma going in. Any of that in the current military, or they're still oblivious to that kind of concept?
Oh yeah, we don't we have very little ritual. It's very similar to what you'd see in a football locker room. I mean, a pre-sport, pre-game locker room. Guys really kind of treat it their own way. We all have our own personal rituals that we create, and then we'll go through that ritual ourselves. Pre-op, pre-mission, pre-game, pre-football game, you name it. Fight. And we just create our own, and each guy kind of separates and does their own thing. Of course, we have a lot of meetings. We talk and prepare.
Yeah.
A good chief will a good chief will come up and give us a fire up speech and get us all prepared and amped up. A bad chief might not.
Wow.
Okay, I have a question for you that might bring back a good memory for you. We recently had a guest on who was talking about when he was in the military. His drill sergeants would say the funniest things that you were not allowed to laugh at because they're drill sergeants and they're just but they will bust your balls all the time, and they say the funniest things. What was the funniest thing the equivalent of your drill sergeant would say to you that you could not laugh at, but to this day you feel like, oh, that was so fucking funny?
Oh my God, I always thought that some of the funniest ones, like in Buds, you'd have like a 17-year-old in Buds, right? And he's got a buzzed head. And of course, no facial hair, and they might look like they're about 14 years old. Some of these guys, and you get a guy that's about 140 pounds, soaking wet, and they would come over sometimes, and they would just harass the guy and just be like, say, "Does your mom know you're here? Did they give you a permission slip to be? Hey, come here." And they pull him over the side and say, "We need to find your permission slip from your parents because you guys don't belong here, man. You look like you're only about 14 years old." And so then this kid would get harassed like that the rest of the time. And so those are funny ones. They find something that they can just kind of tweak on you, and then they go at it.
Yeah. Now, in your very experienced life, you have a wide degree of experiences, from fighter to Navy SEAL to football player, now author. What is your prime focus of how you would identify yourself today? Is it author or the things from the past that you still identify as?
That's a great question. I mean, right now, I really want to focus on making the Breachers Playbook a success. So I would probably consider myself an author, but I really find myself to be a creator. I think that having experienced the things that I have, it gives me a real sense of freedom, and I can tap into lots of different kind of ways of thinking, lots of perspectives. And that's helped really a lot with the Breachers Playbook, rather than I'm just a Navy SEAL, or even rather than Declan Novak's just a Navy SEAL that now is going to save kids. He's a pretty complex character.
Dog, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Of course.
In creating Declan, we started with, what's the motivation to become a Navy SEAL? I mean, it's not money, it's not notoriety, and training is, not even arguably the hardest training in the world. These guys go into this business to protect the unprotected, to defend a nation for those of us who are on the mainland for the people that are not doing the fighting. And, that doesn't end when they retire. So in Declan's case, if, as a Navy SEAL or, with the character that's needed to become a Navy SEAL, when a friend needs help, they don't quantify it. They just ask where. And, and that's what Declan does for a defensive coach, the plot line of the story. And that eventually leads him to help his defensive coach get out of a very bad situation with his daughter.
Well, that's kind of where I was going with the idea of the path to becoming a Navy SEAL. Listen, I've read in the last week, and I feel like sometimes there's no such thing as coincidence. The universe puts the stuff in front of me for a reason, and that could be just kumbaya talking or whatever. But several articles have come across my my screen here as about the hero complex, and I think I've had that to a large degree. I mean, this is part of my behavior is always wanting to be the hero, but not having the physical attributes, the athleticism that somebody like Tom might have. That kind of heroism. It was not in my stars, but the idea of, was this always part of your makeup? Like and I'm not trying to kind of do like a deep psychological dive to you, but that hero, does that resonate with you, Tom, at all?
Absolutely. I've had a savior complex since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I've become increasingly conscious of it.
Yeah.
And there's a balance to saving people. But I cannot help but desire to help others.
That's got to be and I can relate
feels
to
like
it.
A great responsibility. And
yeah,
it is
I was going to put burden. You said responsibility, but it feels like a tremendous burden to always have that need to want to fix things for people, to want to save things for people, make things right.
Yeah, well, one thing I came to understand over the years is that when if I believe that somebody, or if I believe that I'm a savior or I'm here to help somebody, it essentially creates somebody that needs help, right? Right. So in some ways, you almost create your own.
Like a hammer looking for a nail.
That's it, right? So so you just gotta kind of adjust your perspective to understand that is the case. It doesn't mean that people don't need help, and there really are situations, but. Am I creating that scenario, or am I looking for it?
Okay, Tom, you have 4 kids, right? 4 boys?
Yeah, 4 boys.
Two questions then. First of all, do they, if they wanted to, if one of them or one or all of them aspired to be a Navy SEAL, would you say, yes, you're cut out for it, go for it, or I know you, I raised you, I think you'd be a great chef? And the other question is, do your kids call James Uncle Jim?
Let's see.
Gosh, I would go with the easy one. Whether they get that out of the way, they don't. No, they don't call him Uncle Jim.
No, they love Jim. They love Jim. But I like Uncle Jim. I might suggest that. I like that.
All right.
All right. Well, JD, that's a good idea. We got to start that.
But the idea of trying to, I can appreciate.
It's so tough, you guys.
Yeah,
it's so tough, right? I get. I'm always in at some point all the time. I have a young man or more that I'm working with and mentoring through this process as they're trying to decide how they want to carry on with their lives. And so sometimes it's, I want to be a Navy SEAL. Sometimes it's, I want to be in the Navy or play football and or fight or whatever the case is. And so I'm always kind of looking at it and trying to help them decide what they think is best for themselves. I mean, that's all I can do. And there's sometimes I send a guy goes to Buds, and I certainly didn't think he was prepared. I didn't, but that doesn't mean that he won't make it. It doesn't mean that it's not a great experience for him. And it doesn't mean that he's not going to somehow end up exactly where he's supposed to be anyway. So, it's all of these little trying to understand and do the best that I can.
I think you can offer a great perspective on it. I've been wrestling with this with my grandson, recently, because as a protector, you want to protect them, but you also have to understand that you can't protect children from everything. Sooner or later, they're going to get hurt, and sometimes the hurt is part of an important lesson, and you have to just kind of, as a parent or grandparent or whatever, you have to kind of let it happen. As hard as it is to watch happen, it's a really difficult tightrope to walk.
I'm coming up on that.
We
My
only learn
oldest
from
boy.
pain. We only
What's
learn
that?
from pain. Once we find pleasure, we become stagnant because it's pleasurable.
Yeah.
Pain makes you want to move on.
Yeah. It forces you to take a look at what's going on. That's for sure.
Unless you're paying for it, then it's like, you scum. What did I tell you? Bad boy. But then it only lasts so long. And once your money runs out, then you got to go back to work.
Yeah. Gotta go find something. Yeah. Well, my oldest boy's 15, so he'll be driving soon. So here's I think my next big opportunity to let go. Right. I don't want him out there driving necessarily, but he's got to go do his thing.
Yeah, I would be more, and I'm coming up on the same thing. My grandson's 14, 14 and a half, and he's going to be 16 in a year and a half. And I'm thinking, I'm not really concerned about him. I'm concerned about the innocent bystanders he's going to run over.
Oh, yeah.
So, Tom, are you going to be the one to teach him to drive, or do you know in your heart that I could not teach my own son to drive? He's going to go to driving school.
He's in driving school.
Oh, okay.
But we drive all the time.
But driving all the time and having to be the one to teach him
and teach it two different things.
Yeah, because my mother couldn't teach me to drive, and she also didn't like driving with me. So.
All right, Tom's boys are so used to driving ATVs that by the time they get to 16, they'll be teaching the driving instructors.
I grew up driving tractors as a teenager before I had a license, and believe me, the skills I learned from driving an H tractor did not translate well to watching for pedestrians.
Yeah. This question goes out to James because he has far more experience in the publishing world. Earlier, Tom mentioned, I want to make the Breacher's Playbook. I almost said Breacher's Playbook. Whatever.
Breacher's
Playbook. Want to make that a success. What does success look like in the publishing world today? I mean, is it by numbers of books? Because the publishing world has changed so much, and believe me, I've interviewed lots of authors to try to define what success looks like in today's world. How would you define what success is in the publishing industry today?
Well, I think for us, Tactical 16 is a smaller publisher, and the Breacher's Playbook has got some terrific play and reviews, and we're up for some awards. And ideally, I would like to see it go down two roads. One is a screenplay, obviously, and two is a Big Five contract for, if not the Breacher's Playbook, the next two books. By Big Five, I mean the Big Five publishers.
Well, as in anything, getting eyes on it, first of all, and this is where I was going to come to the cover that I'm showing now, which actually does fit on the screen. The overlay we have is built for when we have two people on, where it fits in, and you don't cover anybody. But Tom's sitting in just the right spot where it's not covering him. The Breacher's Playbook cover is very compelling. How much influence do you guys add? How much were you involved in the cover design of this book?
Good question.
It's cool, isn't it?
I think we gave the publisher a lot of instructions on what we wanted on the cover, how we thought it should look, and I personally, I was nervous wreck that they were going to send us something that wasn't even close to what we were looking for. And the very first cover that they sent us was this.
Wow.
And
nice shot. Wow.
Yes.
Very good.
It was awesome. And the storm clouds in the background and the goalpost and the the characters they used for Kaylee and Declan were perfect. I mean, they were just, random.
It's unusual because you said this is the first shot, because I've talked to lots of authors about this, and generally the give and take it and the difficulty in the communication between the author and the artist who's doing the book cover can be really. I gave you, like, I sat down with you an hour and described what I wanted, and this is not even close to it. And they were like renditions.
Yeah, I had other covers that came out terrible, and I was expecting the same.
Yeah.
And, when I got the email with the cover in it and opened it, I couldn't get Tom fast enough.
Wow, nailed it first time.
Nailed it first time.
Yeah.
Is there an audiobook?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, who did either one of you read it, or you hired a
read the audiobook?
It's a AI version. It's
I don't know why, because I definitely have heard stuff that is read by professionals. I feel like I want to connect with the author. If I'm reading a book, I want to hear the author reading it to me. I don't know. And now, my preference is not going to drive the publishing industry, and it shouldn't. But I just did you have any desire to do it, or no? You're happy with the way it came out with the AI guy?
No, I don't think we're that happy with the AI. I had wanted to do it. I think I still will. So you guys think that's a nice thing to do?
Yeah.
Well, I if you ask me about anything AI, I will tell you no. I don't.
Thank you.
I don't like the AI voices. I don't like well, one of the questions I would have for you, because I have this for Matt. Matt has used AI for like small things, like maybe a song, and then getting him to say the word correctly.
Yeah.
Is like a pain in the vowel.
I would imagine AI trying to pronounce city names in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Most publishers do not look for the most expensive way to proceed forward.
Yeah.
They'll try and cut corners, and they're not great marketers and great promoters.
No doubt about it. This is why I'm here.
Yeah,
I would not have. I probably wouldn't exist if they were good marketers.
We're working with a PR firm out of New York City, and and it's working out well. But we're just starting the process.
Yeah.
If you use the AI voice for, let's say, snippets, like a 30-second snippet or something.
Yeah.
I can understand it. I can see it. And even with the little AI graphics to go along with it to promote the book, to get people interested. Like he breached the wall, breached the door, and then you see the little animated versions with the voice and sound effects to get people interested in the book. But to have AI involved in bigger than that, I'm like, no, get a real voice. Maybe take 5 or 6 takes to get it right, and it take him a lot longer so he can be constant. Not tired today and exuberant the next day.
Most publishers are like Amazon. They're a tool. Amazon doesn't sell your book. You can buy the book on Amazon. Like the Breacher's Playbook, you can buy at tactical16.com, or you can buy it on Amazon, but they're not marketing the book for you.
Right.
Again, don't. I'm not telling you what to do. This is not advice. I'm a nobody, and if I advise anybody, it's probably a good strategy for failure. So I'm just. But first, my first thought is marketing is most authors are very creative people, but they're still going by the old-fashioned marketing thing and not thinking out of the box and coming up with creative new ways to market books and get people to actively want to read. And again, this is this is not advice. I'm just thinking, if I were in your shoes, I would utilize Tom as like an inspiration to you, especially to young men, because he's already that. And go like a school tour or a library tour or something like that. Get him speaking in front of a lot of young boys about the book, young men, adolescent men, about the book, and grooming, for lack of a better word, a generation of readers to become fans of the first book now, because there's going to be a series and you're going to go further into it. I mean, that's just an approach I would take. But I find that so many people who are authors, it's such a struggle to go through writing the book, getting the book published, and all this stuff. But by that time, you're just exhausted about it, and all your creative energy for creative out of the box marketing ideas has been spent on writing and publishing the book. Right?
Oh, we're just getting started.
Yeah.
Tom's giving a speech in 2 weeks at Notre Dame for what's called the Bone Frog Open, Navy SEAL charity, where they have hundreds of people coming to this banquet. And it's held at Notre Dame Stadium, and it's covered by tons of media.
Yeah.
So he's going to give a 20-minute speech, and we're those are the things that we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you good luck with it, and thanks for coming on my program to help us deliver some of this information to our audience, and I really appreciate it, and good luck with the book, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
Tom.
You guys have a great day and a great life, and like you haven't already. Thanks for being here. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
Bye. James Pomerantz and Tom Ruby, and the book is called The Breacher's Playbook. I want to say Preacher's Playbook.
Well, there's a lot of things you want to say that I think you.
Did you know what a breacher was before today? Because I had to look it up.
Yeah.
But
then again,
I know. Think of breach of contract. This is a guy who goes around breaking contracts.
I'm surprised that with the number of raids you've seen. Well, actually, I don't know if you've seen a lot of police raids that you didn't know about what breaching was.
Oh. I don't know. Well, I knew about breaching contracts because I have breached a few contracts in my day. I think you're aware of that.
And breach babies.
Yeah, breach baby. Well, I was born breached, right? I think I told you that. How do I take this? I don't know. Oh, cheap followers. We got cheap followers. I want to take this out.
Give me cheap trick, okay? Not cheap followers.
Yeah. Well, did you change your microphone since yesterday or something?
No, I had hit a button. What happened was last night I was on a podcast. I was on Slaptail's podcast.
Oh no!
And I could hear me echoing, but they were not echoing, and it wasn't the echo cancellation. As a matter of fact, the last time I went on this podcast, it was the exact same thing. It would echo, but I hadn't. And they're using StreamYard just like us. And here I don't get the echo, and I don't get the echo on Restream just when I'm streaming with him. And so I hit a button because I have two settings on my microphone. One is this one.
Oh, I like that one.
This one here.
That's deep. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and then there's this one here. And I push the button, but you don't see what the settings are. Like the light doesn't change. The light is not like the light goes off or comes on, so I have no idea what the setting is, and I can't hear myself. So I have no idea.
Well, you have this kind of Morgan Freeman-ish boomingness to your voice when you "Good morning, America," and it's just not there today. It sounds a little thin.
Oh, yes, yeah. I was trying to troubleshoot something last night.
Don't ever do slap. I'm just going to tell you, this is the solution. Don't ever do Slaptails podcast again. That's just a. Don't. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm kidding. I love Slaptail. I'm just joking here.
Do you hear me? Can you hear me still?
Yeah, but it's still got that kind of thinness.
Oh, no, I was just curious because the lights don't go off on this thing. Like when I did this, when I did that, it's supposed to mute the mic, but the light doesn't go off. So it's not muting. It doesn't mute.
Is there an applause light, a plus sign going on behind you?
No, it says on the air.
Oh, all right. Changing subjects here. Can we change subject here?
Oh yeah. I have a great subject. No,
go ahead.
No.
What is?
No, actually, it's not a great subject. I have a thing with. I'm working with Alan Katz this evening on a podcast, episode 4. We're working on writing and recording episode 4. And when I was writing my material, when I was working on it this morning, I wrote AEIOU with commas, but I forgot the spaces, and so my AI co-pilot was trying to figure out what I was trying to spell. And these are my two options. This is what it thinks I was trying to spell. The first word it thinks I'm trying to spell. Remember, I typed AEIOU.
Right.
The first word it suggested was aphilim amab. Yeah, and now that is a recumbent monoclonal antibody. I don't know
Ooh.
why that would fit into the conversation. Why they would suggest that, aside from the fact that I had no vowel, no consonants, but that was the word AFELIMOMAB. They suggested that word.
You can't even sing that, right?
And the other suggestion was a name, Alexio, which I could almost understand because the name is spelled ALEXIOU. And if you take out the L and the X, that's AEIOU.
All right, just
that
Please stand by. We're having difficulties pronouncing foreign names. Please stand by.
All right, that's all.
And that is a foreign name. She's a Greek musician. Her first name is Harris. For some reason, AI thought maybe I was talking about her as the second option.
Well, I think you summed it up in a previous conversation. Fuck AI. I don't think that's exactly what you said, but it's close enough.
They're translating it to English, yeah.
Yes.
So So what were you? I just thought that was interesting that my AI thought when I'm writing AEI. Now this is what I wrote: AEIOU and sometimes Y.
Sometimes Y.
Right. But AI focused on the fact that I didn't have the spaces between the vowels and said, oh, this must be what he's trying to say.
Did anybody ever ask why, how they feel about just being a sometimes vowel? I mean, that's kind of disrespectful.
I'm willing to bet that Sesame Street has tackled that very deep subject. And he probably did it with like Bert and Ernie. They probably had one of those deep conversations when they're both sitting in the bathtub.
Got to be an Abbott and Costello bit working here. Why?
Yeah.
No, they did cover why. I'm not very good at Abbott and Costello bits, obviously. Do you know who Jesse Wells is?
Second baseman.
Second baseman. I knew that was coming. No, he's a fucking shortstop for the Yankees who blew the game.
My default guess is that eventually I'm going to be right. One day you're going to say a name, and they will be a second baseman for the Mets.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know who Jeff McNeil is?
Second baseman for the Mets.
There you go.
Now I can go to the next position. Shortstop for the Mets.
Jesse Wells. I have a man crush on Jesse Wells. Jesse Wells,
and he doesn't play for the Mets, and you have a man crush on him.
No, he plays. This is weird. He's been on Instagram for at least, I think, several years. I don't know how many years, but I discovered him on Instagram. Every video he does on Instagram, he has the cheapest guitars that sound like they have almost like cheap strings on, and just they sound, but cheap is the only way I can describe it. But he's an excellent songwriter, and what he is he's the living legacy to folk music in America, and he's really good. It brings up political stuff all the time. But I don't know if you know this about folk music, and this is covered in the documentary I was talking yesterday about the band and Bob Dylan. The history of folk versus the history of country couldn't be further apart. Like, country was always very conservative politically. The folk movement was always very far to the left, to the point where they were called communists and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Jesse is a folk singer, without a doubt. And when he writes about things that are in the news, in the moment, all current event stuff. And he definitely has a left-wing bias. Not bias, or bent to his thinking and writing. And he was on Joe Rogan yesterday or the day before, and I caught the clip last night, and expecting Joe Rogan, the right winger, to be confrontational with Jesse, the left winger. Look at him, I'm froze up again. How does I get froze up? Anyway, it wasn't that. They were seeming to get along well. It was kind of boring.
All right.
But Joe Rogan, and this is, I have to make this point about Rogan, and because it seems to be kind of an ongoing thing with him. He invents memories for himself, and he talks about them as if with the greatest of confidence. he said they were because he asked Jesse Wells like where he draws his lineage from, and Jesse was bringing up Woody Guthrie, and Woody Guthrie is generally the foundational guy for a lot of current folk music. And Rogan said, I saw him live once, and when I was like 11 years old, and he was going on, and Jesse Roman, Woody or Arlo, his son? He said, no, Woody, and he was like adamant that he saw Woody Guthrie live. Woody Guthrie was dying for like 2 years before he actually died. He was very sick and not performing. He died less than 2 months after Joe Rogan was born. Now, Joe Rogan swears he saw him live when he was 11, and he was telling the story and adamant that he saw Woody Guthrie live when he was 11 years old. Woody Guthrie died when Joe Rogan was 6 weeks old. Could not
not Arlo. I mean, not and he says no, definitely not Arlo. And not Woody from Toy Story. It was Arlo.
You couldn't mix the two up, and this is part of the thing too, where because I wanted to get Jesse on this program, I think I would do a far better interview with Jesse, being a musician and wanting to talk about his songwriting and why he chooses these cheap guitars for the things he does on Instagram. When I know I've seen him in concert where he plays a decent, like a Martin or a Taylor or something.
Maybe he's trying to be inspirational to people who don't have a lot of big budget, and it's like, okay, I can do this with this cheap guitar, so can you.
Yeah, I think, but I think it's more of because I have a lag that's kind of a cheap guitar. It's so easy to play. It's a thin body, and it's really easy to play. And I think that's why he writes on those. And when he performs, he goes for the thicker sounding Taylors and Martins and all that stuff. But it could be. But I think I would do a better interview. But that just goes to show how Rogan is clueless. He can't tell the difference between Arlo Guthrie and Woody Guthrie. You're not suited to.
It sounds to me like he actually watched Sean Guthrie, who was who ran for senator in Florida back in 2016 or 2017. And he might as well. I mean, he does those fucking Guthries from his hole in the ground.
Yeah. But I think this is very telling of the person Rogan is, because he talks a lot of shit.
Trump does that. Trump has these vivid memories of things that never happened,
right?
And he sticks with them. It's like, no, this happened. I was there. It's like, no, you weren't. It never happened. Your uncle did not teach the.
Well, he had that story about his uncle telling him about the Unabomber.
Right.
His uncle died 10 years before anybody who knew who the Unabomber was. Ted Kaczynski was not on, and Ted Kaczynski never went to MIT. He went to Harvard. So he did not study from Trump's uncle, but he does tell that story. Like I had that conversation.
I was going to mention this to you, Matt, but now since Slaptail has put it in the thing,
I did watch that podcast. I think I commented on it last week or something. Not that I want Mandel to get any play, but it's classic Mark Maron. I keep wanting to call him moron. I'm loving Mark Maron's. He's putting out reels and stuff and talking about. I caught one this morning where he's saying the real reason a lot of these comedians went with Trump, and I think he nails it to some degree. He's talking about they just wanted license to be able to say words like retard and nigger and things without having to be told, because they were calling it cancel culture. You weren't being canceled. You'd have to deal with the responsibility that you brought upon yourself for using those words. And so in a way,
that's what he said in his stand-up Panicked.
Yeah. Well, it's in one of the latest reels. He's talking about this stuff. But in a way, it's reverse cancel culture. The comedians are saying, how dare you criticize me? Stop criticizing me for using the word retard. Well, you know what? That is, you can't go out and say, I want to be able to use this word, and anybody who's trying to shut me down is canceling me, and then you're trying to shut them down from criticizing you. That's the opposite of you. That's cancel culture, and you're canceling your audience's reaction to what you said. That's cancel. Right. But I'm loving it. And of course, he makes it funny, and I'm not making it funny. But good stuff. I'm loving. I would love to. He's not going to do my show, Mark Maron.
Well, first of all, he's got his own podcast that he's doing all the time. Well,
he's doing everybody's podcast except this one. Because this is
I'll call him. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, to me, uh, I know everybody has their own, but what he's saying right now really resonates with me. With these anti-woke, they don't even know what the fuck woke means. Like, if I ask Joe Rogan what woke means, he thinks it means wanting men in women's bathrooms. Like, that is so far from my perception of what people who call themselves woke. Mark also shares the opinion of Maria Bamford is one of the best. Yeah, she is one of the best, no doubt about it. She definitely is. I have talked to her about coming on this program. Not going to happen. Never. She said she doesn't do any podcasts, but I think she has done a one or two along the way. But again, she's so crazy. I love her, but she's so crazy. Like,
Bipolar.
she has people like, does anybody want to meet at a coffee shop where I'll do my thing for just for an audience of one at a coffee shop, do our next hour or whatever, meeting total strangers. That's, you know, that's risky, first of all, off the internet. Like, anybody want to meet? I'll give you a t-shirt and buy you coffee, and you just come and listen to me for an hour. That's, uh, you know.
I don't have a problem doing that for her. I just would want to record it.
What do you mean?
I would listen to her for an hour, but I'd want to record it.
Yeah, I don't think she would allow that.
Well, I'm not saying play it out there, but record it for my own.
Yeah, but it's who could trust you. You think I'm going to trust you with a recording of me now? You can't be trusted.
Sure, you can. I can be trusted.
Maybe I could trust you because nobody would want to see your recording of me for an hour. But Maria Bamford, people would want to see that, and then you would give in to the.
I haven't put out there.
Oh, care to elaborate? What do you got?
No, because then I would be breaking trust.
No, this is good blackmail stuff. Or
I don't do that. I don't do blackmail.
I do.
It's just for my own.
It's kind of my. It's kind of my side hustle. Extortion is my side hustle.
I talk to so and so, and they go, like, "You did not." I don't go, "Yes, I did. I can prove it." I go like, "Okay, fine. You don't have to believe me." And then I go back and I listen to the thing, and they go like,
"Yeah, Maria Bamford's not gonna let you tape stuff." I know she has done Zoom calls like that too, but I think she runs it so that you can't. Maybe you could do a screen capture recording. People could probably do that, but she doesn't want that. Anyway, I do think she's one of the best out there, and one of the more unique comics out there who always has a interesting perspective and something new, not just the same old. Because I think that's part of Maron's critique of the Rogan sphere of the guys who suck his dick to be on his podcast all the time. They are saying the same thing, coming up. They're just derivatives of the same premise, and nobody's coming up with anything new. Like, it's all obligatory trans jokes here, and whatever they defined as woke. See, I think there are people who wear the label of woke have done a disservice to themselves by not letting the right wing define it rather than letting themselves define it in a way that makes sense. So now you hear, you go woke, you go broke. This one, not Laura, one of the fucking right wing influencer people, Luna.
Laura Croft.
Might be Luna. Anyway, she was saying all these companies go, and she was naming all these what she called American companies. She had Jaguar in there, which is not an American company, but she talked Disney, Bud Light. Oh, go woke, go broke. I mean, none of those companies have gone broke. I think Disney's still pretty okay on solid financial footing. So I think Anheuser-Busch is also okay. I'm pretty sure Jaguar is, even though they're not an American company. But this whole idea that what woke is to them is not what woke is to the people who call themselves woke.
Right.
And they're just letting them. See, that's not good. If you invent this kind of movement and then you let the opposition define what it is, that's not good in any case. right?
Right.
What is woke? What does woke mean to you? Go ahead, give me your definition of what a woke person would be
Woke
about.
to me, woke just means socially aware, socially conscious. You know, that's it.
That's not
And
bad.
that's not even the phrase that I use. Other people use woke. I have a tendency not to like to use phrases that are in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd rather take the time to explain what I'm saying, because you take a phrase, they change the meaning, or they change the meaning of the word for some reason or another, and you may not even know that they've changed it, and you still glammed onto it, or you still holding on to that phrase to identify yourself. You know, I just
Yeah.
rather explain what I'm saying instead of looking for one word to describe it.
Yeah.
Although, if you wanna make a bumper sticker, you can't talk like me.
I don't think I'm looking for a one word. I describe it as the golden rule that, and I don't think Jesus really ever said this. I think a lot of people attribute it to Jesus or whatever, or whoever that was. The idea of just do unto others as you would do to yourself, or you would have them to do to you. I mean, it's the golden rule. Just treat people decently and with respect. And it's just when it comes to all these, marginalized people, we want to talk about trans people.
I think what Jesus said was, love your neighbor as yourself.
All right, that's fine. That's
I don't
good.
know
Yeah,
who
that
said,
works.
do unto others. I
Do
don't know
unto
where that
others and
comes
then
from.
split. That was Red Fox who said that. Do unto others and then split.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was Flip Wilson. They all look like, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I
Um,
do.
yes, you do. With regards, I just can't get it through my head how people are so threatened by how
It's
other people live their
according to
lives.
this, according to this, is attributed to Jesus in Matthew 7:12 and Luke 6:31.
Wow. And what does it say? Go ahead.
Oh, it says right here, the phrase "do unto others as you would have them do unto you," in quotations, is attributed to Jesus and is found in the Bible, specifically in Matthew 7:12 and Luke 6:31. This principle, often referred to as the golden rule, emphasizes treating others with the same respect and kindness that one wishes to receive.
Yeah. Well, that's what my perception of what woke is all about. It's just like everybody has a right to exist, and as long as they're not hurting you, and then they're not a threat to you. And I don't get, and coming back to the trans thing, and I don't mean to just but this is the one I just don't. People are so threatened by people who are just choosing to live life as they decide to live life. As long as it's not hurting you, I don't understand why you feel scared about that. Why do you feel like you have to make them an enemy? And diversity, and if the word diversity to a conservative these days is a 4-letter word. I mean, it will make them angry. Like, diversity is not our strength. It never was. Of course it is. When you get
Yeah.
more ideas coming from more places, more exposure to different cultures and stuff, it broadens your own horizons. They feel like that's a threat.
Well, these are the same people that don't believe in evolution. But if you look at evolution, the things that survive are the things that can diversify. For the most part, I mean, especially in the plant world. You look at just look at about bananas. We have Cavendish bananas now. Before the Cavendish bananas, I can't remember what it was called, but they died out because of lack of diversity. And then so we switched to the Cavendish banana. It's.
I don't think all those people doubt evolution. I think definitely the creationists absolutely do, but I'm not sure everybody on that. Because I know hardcore Trumpers who are hardcore atheists. I mean, which is hard to wrap my head around, because these people who I'm talking of, who I'm no longer friends with, spent their entire life like ridiculing Christianity and Christians, and now they align with white Christianity, Christian nationalism. That's an odd leap. You spent 50 years, 60 years of your life calling these people idiots, and now you're lining up with them. And all I can imagine, and I hate to make a leap like this, but the only thing I can imagine is the commonality is you hate the same people. And it comes back to what I said several times that got me in trouble, already got me some hate mail. It's that you just want to get rid of the spicks and niggers like like Trump does and the Christian nationalist movement does. So you get behind that. That's the thread that they have in common. Let's get rid of the spicks and niggers. Sorry, I said it 3 times now. I'm in trouble. But I think what else can you take
you could have
from
said get
that?
rid of the spick and spans, and then that would leave your house very dirty.
What is a span? Dirty spans. Aren't they the same thing? I don't know.
A spick and span? I don't know, but I know it's used to be a very good detergent.
But what other conclusion can you come to for people who have ridiculed Christianity and Christians their whole life now to line up with Christians? They haven't become Christians; they're still atheists, but they align with the Christian nationalist movement. What other conclusion can you make? It's just the common hatred, right? Or no? Am I wrong? Is there something else some other possibility I'm overlooking?
No. I think you got.
Well, I hate to be validated in that way, but I think I agree. I agree with me.
I was looking up the word spick and span to find out where it came from. How did spick and span become?
Their marketing department, that guy needs a smack. That's what it is. And what did you find out? Did you find out?
Well, so far it's like neat and clean. Here's the Cambridge Dictionary. The Cambridge Dictionary. Oh, yeah, I understand. I know how to use it in this fucking sentence.
Yeah.
Very clean and neat. I'm looking for the origins, like why spick and span means clean.
It says it's an Old Norse phrase. Norse? I can't even say Norse right. From late 16th century, from a spick and span with a K, S-P-I-C-K, and span. Right. Emphatic extension of a dialect span from Old Norse, but Dutch. But yeah, give me something I can understand here. What is it? The term combines 2 nouns that are now obsolete. Spick is a nail. I did not know that. A nail. And spike, or spike, and span, which is a wooden chip. So how does that? Because the term in modern lexicon kind of indicates clean. It's clean, spick and span, right? How do nail and wooden chip relate to clean? I don't know. I'm thinking of the product spick and span, right?
Yeah, I don't know how it got to mean that.
It doesn't make any sense. But that's what I meant when I was using that word before. I was talking about the product. Spick and span. No, I wasn't. I'm a liar. I've lied before and I'll lie again. What, are you going to do something about it? You're going to make something of it? What, you think you're better than me?
I'm not.
I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight. What are you doing this weekend? You got things going on?
Well, right after this, I mean, literally right after, well, Saturday I'm going to a friend of mine's house for their birthday party. I think she's turning 40. But right after this, I'm going to be on a phone call negotiating a contract for a comedy gig. And then after that, I'm working with Alan Katz.
Yeah. Now you and Alan Katz have been talking about this podcast since 1944, I think.
Right, and we're aiming for September of 47.
All right. I gotta read this comment. Slapdo says, I don't know if you know this about GD, but he talks about bananas almost as much as he talks about his mom. GD was very quiet during the Bigfoot thing. I have to say, he was.
Well, initially I couldn't get what I wanted to say in the spaces.
Oh.
And then because in the very beginning she said something that I didn't understand, and I wanted to know what I wanted her to clarify. She said, it sounded like she said Sarah sounds, but it's Sierra sounds. But it took me a while because I was trying to figure out animal sounds. She said this, kept saying Sarah sounds, Sarah sounds, Sarah sounds, and I thought that was something close to like bioacoustics, where you take the sounds of animals and you identify them. But that's not what she was talking about. She was talking about Sierra sounds, which is like a very specific tape or something, like the Zapruder film.
Yeah.
And that was what I wanted to ask her in the beginning, as soon as she said it. And then after a while, it got to be so far along that it's like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to be now asking 10 minutes later about something she said 10 minutes ago. I'll just look it up. Fuck it.
I do it
And I
all the
did.
time. And did you look it up? No.
I did. That's how I know what it is now.
Oh.
And that's part of the reason why I was quiet, because I couldn't get in there. I said, "Fuck it, I'll look it up," and so I was looking it up.
What is it? Because I don't. What is it exactly?
Sierra is Sierra like Sierra Leone, SIERRA sounds. So
Never heard. I should have.
And so it's more like a proper now, kind of like the Zabruta tapes. You know, when you say the Zabruta film, everybody knows that it's a film that Zabruta took. Well, the Sierra sounds, I think, are the sounds of animal sounds they gathered at some place called Sierra or something like that. A specific tape, and not like a
as
sign.
a black guy, I wouldn't expect you to know anything about Bigfoot, because black people aren't interested in Bigfoot.
Well, I had a friend who was interested in Bigfoot back in the 70s, and so we did the deep diving into it. As a matter of fact, there was a movie called In Search of Bigfoot that we actually paid like $1.75 to go see.
Yeah.
And then there was like In Search of Noah's Ark, In Search of Lincoln.
Right. Yeah. It started the In Search of show that Leonard Nimoy used to be the narrator of.
And then it became then they started doing the movies to get money. And I saw those things, and like I said, my friend Tony really believed that there could be a Bigfoot, and I was like, I don't know, I don't think so. I just the footage, the film that they had that they were relying on, I'm going like, it looks like a man in a suit.
All right, but I wanted to bring up the sound thing, because within the Bigfoot community, they think that if you hear knocking, you're in the woods, and you hear like somebody knocking on a tree, making knocking sounds. That's evidence.
And I'm thinking, instead of saying it could be a woodpecker,
could be. That's what I would. That would be my first thought. Woodpecker, not Bigfoot. I mean, if I eliminated everything else possibly, then I might go to Bigfoot. But I wouldn't start at Bigfoot. But that's when they say sound, the typical Bigfoot sounds. Now I haven't ever heard Sierra sound, but when they say the typical Bigfoot sounds, that's what they mean. It's this knocking, or sometimes it's like a cry type of thing. Not like a wolf cry. But and again, this could be just like an owl. It could be lots of animals make noises in the dark.
And none of that, animals are adapting their sounds to their surroundings as well.
Yeah,
that's something, because we have raccoons and foxes, and well, the cats are not so stray anymore. The cats come up to the house and they come in the house, but like the raccoons and the foxes and the opossums do not come in the house, you know, and their sounds have changed. I've watched them like engaging. And it's almost like they're learning, trying to communicate with each other and trying to adapt their sounds to each other now, because they've been living in the same wooded area for so long. It's like, hey, look, let's talk this out. I know I still want to eat your babies. I'm
getting a text message right now from the head of the Possum Coalition, and they want to thank you for being respectful by saying opossum, because they are mad at me for just cutting off the O and just saying possum all the time. You correctly identify them, and they're very happy about that. It's a Possum Coalition.
Well, I say that because it goes back to my childhood when I was having a discussion with my father.
Oh.
And
I thought maybe you sang "Oh Possum."
No.
That's Canada.
And I told my father about something that happened, and my father goes, "Show me what you're talking about." And I showed him the picture of the animal, and he goes, "That's a possum." And I said, "No, it's an opossum." Now because that was my opportunity to correct my father without getting slapped. He goes, "That's a possum, boy." I said, "No, that's an opossum." Because my father was from North Carolina anyway. So everything was... I don't remember his voice. I don't remember what he sounds like.
Huh.
I was so young when he died. I don't remember what he sounds like.
Oh, possum. All right, let's wrap this thing up. We do have guests next week, and we want to tell people to tune in Sunday morning. The Rev will be here. Do we know what the Rev's talking about this week, or we don't even know yet?
I think his thing is called Petting Zoo. I'm sorry, Vetting Zoo.
Oh.
The Vetting Zoo.
The courts have said they have to shut down alligator Auschwitz, but they're not going to pay attention to the courts.
Well, they'll drag it out. And then they'll change the name and says, "Oh, well, we did shut down alligator Auschwitz. Now it's Crocodile Camp."
Right.
Well, now it's Crocodile Concentration Camp.
I gotta bend down because I'm too big here. Look at, I'm too big if I sit up straight. It cuts off my head right in the middle of my forehead. Something with the. All right, let's wrap this up. I got gigs today. I'm gigging. I'm like a gigging madman. Have you noticed this about me? What?
Oh yeah, you're one crazy fool.
I'm wild and
you're
crazy.
You're a gigging fool. You're a gigging fool.
All right, tune in on Monday, and until then, don't forget to.
What are you playing? Propaganda or the other one?
The other one. I'm playing the other one.
One last thing. If you need the Reverend to voice any parts for, if you decide you're going to do the Tantaley, and you want to do the Reverend as a reference, if you need his voice for anything, just say a word or two. Just let me know, and I'll let him know so he can record the voices or the words for you, so you can say them, like, Tantaley or whatever you want him to say.
All right, my prostate says don't forget to turn on the radio. Bye for now.
I
to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now.